Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word and to the race watch-along for the Japanese Grand Prix 2025, of course. That is what year we're in, I think, just about. Morning, everybody. Afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. Hope you are ready for this one. Interesting start by the look of things. A bit damp out there for those that are asking if it's raining. It has stopped raining, but rain is expected at some point during the race, but apparently it's going to be quite light and probably not going to pay or cause too many problems for too many drivers. The biggest problem we've got at the moment, which we'll get into in a moment, is the race start. It is going to be, you would imagine, no safety car. It's not wet enough. They're going to start on dries. But the right-hand side of the grid, left as we look at it, is wetter than the other side. So those starting on the the even side of the grid are probably going to have some problems off the line. So get ready for some fuss kicks up about that one. But yeah, ready for this one. Very much ready for this one after the big surprise yesterday that Max Verstappen stuck it on pole position. Nobody saw that one coming at all. I'll run through the grid for you in just a moment, but yeah, only one major change as far as I can tell, and that is that Carlos Sainz did get, as we expected, a 3-place grid drop for impeding Lewis Hamilton, so down to 15th, I think. We'll check that in a moment, but yeah, that final grid should be out by now, so I can check that before we get going, but well ready for this one. How are we all doing in the chat? Let's say some good morning, some hellos. Just try and get the chat to actually work would be great. You can vote in the poll as well. I can only give you 4 options, so I'll give you the top 3 on the grid, and then other, which can be literally anybody on the grid you like. You can let your imagination run wild. Why not? Morning to Biker John, to Kit, to Arctic Salts, to Just Your Average YouTuber, to Hermes, to Pascal, to Sam, to Akshi, to Scott, Paradox, to Lala B, to Alfie, to Scott again. There you go. Why don't you get another one? Cadenza as well, and to Michael Heiss as well. I hope you're all okay this morning and ready for a cracking race. Get your questions in, as always. 9:37 Mars time, apparently. There you go. Morning, Paul, as well. So there you go. Yeah, get your questions in. We'll have a chat before we get going. Just going to go check the grid and make sure I've not missed. That's the weather. That's no use, Sean. Just make sure I haven't missed anything on the... I keep going to the wrong link. Sorry, I'm just having a moment here. So it also now has to download every single PDF for some reason rather than just letting me read it online. But anyway, see your grid for this one. Max Verstappen is on pole position. No changes there with Lando Norris in 2nd place on the grid. Interesting front row there for sure. 3rd place, Oscar Piastri. 4th place, Charles Leclerc. 5th is George Russell. 6th is Kimi Antonelli. 7th is Isaac Hadjar. Apparently, by the way, his seat was loose on the way to the grid. So he's still having problems with whatever's going on in that car, but hopefully a tad less painful than it was yesterday. Lewis Hamilton 8th, Alex Albon 9th, 10th for Ollie Bearman, 11th for Pierre, 12th for Fernando Alonso, Liam Lawson 13th, Yuki Tsunoda 14th, Carlos Sainz does drop to 15th, 3-place penalty for impeding Lewis Hamilton. 16th Nico Hulkenberg, 17th Gabriel Bortoleto, 18th Esteban Ocon, 19th Jack Doohan, and 20th is Lance Stroll. So that is your grid for the Japanese Grand Prix as it stands. Stat for you as well. I checked it for it live because I do things like this because I'm weird. But Williams, if they score today, just one single point will have outscored their entire 2024 points total, and it's race 3. So what a start to the season they are having. We've talked about the McLarens, we've talked about Max Verstappen, we've talked about George Russell. Williams having a cracking start to the year. Alex Albon has got about 16 of the 17 points for the team. So they scored 17 last season, 1 point, and they beat that. You would expect them to do that over the course of the season, but to do it by round 3 would be quite impressive. So good stuff from Williams. Don't sleep on Alex Albon today up there in 9th place. Could be a bit of a surprise. So yeah, strategy wise as well, is expected to be staying dry enough that we'll be starting on slicks and we'll continue on slicks. So it is also expected, because the first sector is helping with tyre wear, I think more than people expected it would. I use expected way too many times there. Medium, soft, either of those are likely to be the start tyre, and you can still do a one-stopper, whichever one you start on. So if you start on the mediums, you'll pit between lap 19 and 25, then put the hards on to go to the end. Lap 10 to 16, if you put on the softs, and then it's the hard to the end. You can two-stop. tricky track to overtake on, though, if you get caught in traffic, so you'd need the gap to do it realistically, or for the midfield to pit first if you're a leader. So you could start on the softs, go to lap 8 to 14, chase the mediums to go to lap 28 to 34, and then the hards to the end. Or you could do a medium, hard, medium strategy, whichever you wanted to do, but likely a one-stopper, which coming into this weekend was not the expectation. But because of the fact that first sector is really helping with tyre wear at the moment, things looking good on that front for the drivers. So one stopper. Hopefully, therefore, we're going to get some action on track. Otherwise, we could end up with one of those strategy intrigue races, is how I word them, is the best way to put it. But hopefully, we're going to get a cracker today. I do enjoy Suzuka, but seeing the cars around there is pretty special anyway. So those are your strategies if you are interested. So yeah, lots. I didn't mean to check actually just as well, because I am organised, I promise. I just forgot one thing today. Was the amount of tyres drivers have left available to them. I believe... yeah, so Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc have 2 sets of the mediums each available, whereas everybody else are going to be battling. See, Piastri, Norris and Co have all only got 1 new set. So that was what I wanted to check as well. So there we go. For what it's worth, so they might try a 2-stopper Red Bull with maybe Tsunoda, medium, hard, medium, but we'll see. We'll see what happens in the next couple of hours, of course. But I can't see them taking too many gambles with Max Verstappen. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me know what you think in chat. Bearman finishing above 11th. Impossible, says Hermes. Question mark. It depends what Tsunoda does, doesn't it, back there in 15th? And you could probably argue, given Hadjar 7th, that Lawson's a better position as well. So it might be tough. But did anyone predict Haas to pick up the points they did in China? So you never know. You never know. You think Sainz is thinking he dodged a bullet not taking a second Red Bull seat? Too bad there aren't many tracks like Suzuka, especially a night race, as Lyle. Thank you, Lyle. Member for 7 months. Appreciate your support, mate, as always. I think if you offer Carlos Sainz the option now between a Williams and a Red Bull seat, he'd still take the Red Bull seat. I think most would, because, and this isn't a criticism, by the way, but drivers have big egos. They're all going to look at that and go, I'm the one that could make that car work. So I still think Carlos Sainz would rather be in a car capable of challenging for podiums and wins, but I don't think he's landed in a bad place at Williams. He just needs to get himself up to speed. So I don't think he'd be too disappointed about where he is, but I think if that seat was available, he would take that in a heartbeat. I think most would further down the grid. Just my view. You might disagree. You might think that he's probably sat there going, I'm mad. I'd be mad to take that seat. But I still think he was an option. But I think out of him and Tsunoda and Lawson, Sainz Tsunoda ahead of Lawson really was the way to go. But there we go. It looks like they're starting with the national anthem as always. So about 15 minutes away from the race start, which is 3 p.m. local time, I think, or 2 p.m., possibly 2 p.m., 6 a.m. here in the UK. So let me know what time it is where you are. I did see somebody pop up. Morning, Sophie. I can't stream the race, unfortunately, due to copyright. Obviously, it's... sometimes you have a battle just using photos with FOM, so I don't know how I get away with streaming the race. So apologies there, but we have got live timing from Multiview for F1. They do a great job as well. So as soon as I've earned that money to to buy the rights, we absolutely will. But until then, I can't, unfortunately. But thank you for joining us this morning. How many red flags today from Grassfire, says Paradox? I'd be surprised if we get any. It's pretty damp out there. It rained overnight, and it's still supposed to. It looks a bit sort of a bit murky, and I say it looks like the UK in the middle of summer is what it looks like. It's probably about as warm as well. In fact, it was about 13 degrees, I think, last time I checked. So wait until that all updates on Multiview. I'll tell you the temperatures and that then when we get to the race start. But yeah, it's not looking great out there weather-wise. But, you know, it could spice things up a little bit. But I don't think we'll see any grass fires. It should be wet enough. That said, who knows? Who knows with Formula One? 11 p.m. in the American mountains, apparently. 12:44 in Indianapolis. 1:44 in South Korea, 10:45 in Montana, next to Yellowstone. Cool. That's awesome, Scott. 5:45 in the UK. I got that one, Pascal. We're all good, mate. we got there between us, didn't we? 5:45 in the morning. It's an early one, but it's. I had a productive afternoon, by the way, yesterday. I'll say after I've cut myself to pieces. We've got we back onto the road, the main road. And so we've got quite a lot of overgrown bramble bushes and that there. And they come over the fence during back end of last summer. And I decided to go and tackle those yesterday. And well, I came out like I'd done 10 rounds with Mike Tyson. It was ridiculous. But yeah, very productive afternoon in the end. And then fell asleep because that's the way I am. Not in the garden. Not quite. Not quite. Thank you, Liam. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're well. Hawaii is probably nicer, says Lala B. Without, I don't know what Hawaii's weather's like, but I'd imagine it is probably nicer for sure. For sure. 2:45 in Australia in the afternoon. I bet you're dreading Hermes, and if Annette's here as well, getting to the European races again and having to do this all season, getting up stupidly early. I bet it's so nice to have those first few races a bit more sociable hours, I suppose, is what I'm going with. But you know, at least if you're up in the morning, you can get on or watch a film and fall asleep 7 minutes into it, which is what I tend to do. I've never joined the stream before, but I remember when you hit 10k subs, you rock. Keep it up. Thank you again, Liam. First time on a stream. Welcome. 10k subs. God, when was that? That was a long time ago. I think when we did that. But yeah, the channel kind of took off quite quickly, didn't it? And then it's plateaued over time, which I think is what I expected. Said it a million times. I'm surprised anybody wants to listen to me, but the fact that so many are here, it's always appreciated. So thank you very much for all of your support over the last, God, is it 8 years in June? 8 years. God. Yeah, it will be. Bloody hell. Anyway, is this the final early race for a while if you are in the UK EU, says Fodge? It is. I think Vegas is the next one in November. We've got late ones or evening ones coming. We've got Bahrain 4 p.m. starts. I think Saudi is 6 or 7 p.m. And then it's 9 p.m. for Miami. And then apart from Canada, it's pretty much European times or around there until we get to the evening races for COTA and Mexico. And then it's on to... And by the way, it's a very early morning one for Vegas. I know it's a long way off. I think it's a 3 or 4 a.m. race start. So that's one of those don't bother going to bed ones, I'm afraid. Yes, the mini-map will be out when we get started, don't worry. I'll get it up in about 5 or 6 minutes' time, so it's there ready. But yeah, just some pictures for now. Yeah, back to European times. 7 p.m. in Hawaii. That's a nice time, actually, to watch a race. I do, morning and evening, I much prefer that. I've said it before, so happy with that one. But yeah, Vegas is the next early one. As George Russell scoots, quite literally. Back, I assume, for a quick toilet break before they get started. Not long now. Really hoping that we get a good race. And I think we will. I've gone and jinxed that, haven't I, straight away. But, Max Verstappen, surprise pole. I was looking everywhere yesterday and people were sort of... Nobody could quite believe it. I did see somebody on social say that they don't understand why people have gone so mad for it. It's not a special lap because he was only 100th clear of Lando Norris, and you sort of think, tell me you don't understand F1 without actually saying it. Do you know what I mean? It's Max Verstappen in, at best, the second fastest car. Some argue the fourth. You could probably say around the third fastest car. The McLarens have got a bit of a rocket ship this year. They are the favourites, and he still managed to deliver a lap like that. So the margin between Max Verstappen, Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri is irrelevant as to whether that was a good lap or not. It was a great lap given the car he's driving. So some people will never give drivers credit, though, will they? So there you go. But it's... I'll defend Max, you know me. I kind of blew that yesterday, didn't I? But there you go. Quite clearly. It's still a mega lap from him, all things considered. And a win today could really bring him... I say into play in the championship. He's not that far off the top of the championship. He's second, for goodness sake. But a win just sort of stops that McLaren run, doesn't it, a little bit? And we can hopefully have a cracking battle over the course of this season. But I think this year, it feels a bit like McLaren's to lose, doesn't it, with the pace they've got? But then we said that last year with Red Bull, and they did lose the constructors. And, there was a moment where a few people started to believe that Max might lose the drivers. So... It can all turn very, very quickly. So early doors, pick up consistent points, get the car developed, and see where we land probably around the summer break as the drivers start to get into their cars now with 10 minutes to go until lights out. So what are your predictions then? Get them in chat. Do your top threes in chat and I'll read a few out and give some shout outs out as well. Max Verstappen, 45% of you are saying he will win this one. 22% Norris, 17% Piastri, 16% other. If it stays, if we do get a bit of rain later on and it's a greasy, I mean, it'll be a very green track, but a greasy track, I think Max wins it. If it dries up completely, I'm probably going to go with a McLaren. I'll probably stick with my Thursday prediction of Norris, but Piastri would be cool. Piastri or Verstappen today for me would be good. Keep this championship nice and open early doors. Although a Max win is 3 different winners for 3 races. So if we get a Max win this week, Leclerc next week, Russell the following week, Antonelli after that, and then Hamilton. Let's try and go for 7 or 8 different winners in the first 7 or 8 races. That'll do, won't it? Josh says, morning, Josh. How is it? Now has it? I can't even speak. How bad is that? I can't even speak. F1 now has its own burning bush. There we go. I got there in the end. Why did that take me 16 attempts? Goodness me. Biker John's going Max for the win by the look of it. So there we go. Morning, Max. Hope you well, mate. Michael says Max, Norris and Oscar. So not much change at the front for Michael there. It might be one of those races. Max has won the last 3 Japanese Grand Prix from pole. 18 over the years have been won from pole position from 34 races, I believe, if I remember off the top of my head. Scott says the podium will be as qualified. So your top 3 will be in some order: Verstappen, Norris and Piastri. Yeah. There's quite a gap, isn't there, back to Leclerc, and that's over 1 lap and not over a race distance, but you've got 400ths between the top 3 and then 3/10 back to Leclerc basically from pole. So yeah, it probably is between those 3, but bit of a greasy track. Anything could happen. Tries to be on strategy, we'll see. Fud says Piastri, Antonelli and Tsunoda. That's one hell of a race we've got there, mate. I'll go for that one for sure. Flying Tiger says Leclerc for the win. We'll take that one. Paul has gone with Verstappen, Lawson and Hulkenberg. Lawson and Hulkenberg. I like these bold predictions. It means we're going to get chaos if they come true, so I'll be happy with that one. Pascal, Piastri, Verstappen, Leclerc and Hulkenberg P10 somehow. It's doable. It's going to need some luck, I think, but maybe if it's one of those borderline 1-2 stoppers, maybe he pits once and everyone else pits twice, it might give him a shot, but I'd be surprised. But you know, did you think Hulkenberg would finish where he would in Australia? So it can happen. It can happen is my point. Lala B says Oscar, Max and Russell as a top 3. Jonathan, morning, Jonathan. I'm very well, thank you. Hope you are too. Says Piastri, Max and Russell. Russell 3 podiums in a row. That'd be cool. Annabelle says McLaren 1-2. Bossy says, nah, it's going to be a Stroll win. I mean, obviously. Craig says Pizza Man, Norris and Verstappen. And yeah, there we go. I try to think, yeah. Who knows? Who knows what could happen? Let's get this live timing and that set up then ready for the race, because we are about to get going, which is super exciting. Super ready for this one, as always. I do love me F1. You might have noticed it's kind of needed, really, isn't it? The moment I fall out of love with F1 is the moment this probably has to end. I'm not going to sit here and feign interest in something just for the sake of clicks. So there we go. That is your grid, confirmed. Yes, Verstappen all the way down to Stroll there on the left-hand side. The track map I will pop up now as well and make sure it is actually working. I'm hoping it will be. There we go. That's not bad. I'm happy with that one. But yeah, 6 minutes to go. Music's about to kick in, so I shall pop on my sound now. So as always, if you hear anything coming through over the mic, let me know. Other than my mouth, don't be like, Sean, we can hear you. Shut up. Last thing I need is Jacques Villeneuve on commentary. Oh, that's yay. Everyone's going to be delighted with that, I'm sure. He's not been too bad this weekend. He's one of those, a bit like Ralph Schumacher, who likes to say things for controversy's sake, I think, sometimes. Fodge says Max, Russell, Leclerc, McLaren's take each other out. Ooh, into turn 1, Fodge, or a bit later around the lap, do you reckon? I need to get that one open, so I need to get this all synced up to TV. Hopefully. Risk of rain is 20% officially for the session, so, or for the race. Maybe. Paula, always special those early morning Suzuka races. I think chatting to Pascal there. Yeah, no, the back in day when it was at the back end of the season, title decider, Suzuka, just felt right. That's what I grew up with. So we've had some cracking title deciders, but I'd be surprised if the title decided today. In fact, the only way it can be is if the points system is completely changed mid-race and you get like 1 million points for the win or something. So it's not happening today. And if it is, then let's all just give up until next year. But it's never going to happen. Mathematically impossible. 53 laps today, 5.8 kilometre track, 3.6 miles if that's your thing. Track record was beaten yesterday, of course, but 130.9 is the race lap record. They are recorded as different things. But this is going to be, I think this will be a good race. I think a good race. We'll run through the grid in just a second. See 1, 2, and 3, your tyres. I'm kind of doing a really crap Crofty impression here, but quieter and less screamy. A bit more chill for nearly 6 o'clock in the morning. But yeah, we are ready to go for this one. Everything looks like we're working. Just making sure that track map is the right one. I think it is. I think it updates anyway. So working for the back, Lance Stroll, 20th place with Jack Doohan in 19th. See what they can do from there. Big ask around Suzuka to overtake, of course. Ocon is 18th with Bortoleto in 17th place in the Sauber. 16th for Nico Hulkenberg and 15th for Carlos Sainz following that 3-place grid drop for impeding Lewis Hamilton in qualifying. 14th for Yuki Tsunoda alongside Liam Lawson. I'll say you can't write it, but I hate that expression because you literally could. In 13th place. Fernando Alonso, 12th, and Pierre Gasly in 11th, just outside the points there for him. Can we get some more points for Alpine today? 10th for Ollie Bearman. Alex Albon, 9th, a chance here to beat the 2024 points record for Williams in just the 3rd race of the season. Lewis Hamilton, 8th, and Isaac Hadjar once again, best of the rest in 7th place. 6th is Kimi Antonelli. Great job yesterday. And George Russell in 5th. Can Russell continue his cracking start to the season, to be fair? Charles Leclerc in 4th and Oscar Piastri is in 3rd place. And then we've got a front row of Lando Norris in 2nd and Max Verstappen, yesterday's surprise pole sitter. Tyre-wise, everybody on the mediums, apart from Lewis Hamilton starting on the hard tyre. Hard tyres for Bortoleto and for Ocon, and soft tyres for Doohan and for Stroll. So Doohan and Stroll going for positions off the line by the look of it. And Ocon and Bortoleto settling in for the long haul, as is Lewis Hamilton. So interesting. Don't forget last year as well, a red flag on the first lap after, was it Albon and Ricciardo crashing on the snake up the hill. So starting on those softs might not be a bad idea if we get an early red flag or something like that, because you can get rid of them nice and early, and you've made your pit stop then. So Sad Mariners fan, who's not from Grimsby, says Suzuka or Spa is the best track on the calendar. Question. I've always said Spa, but as of a couple of years I found myself I love Suzuka more. Oscar Piastri's birthday as well, by the way, today. He is 46. He's not, he's 24. Yeah, it's a good question, actually, you know, because I think thinking about, as Paula was saying, those early starts, those growing up as a kid and watching Japan late on, the memories there, the title deciders, in my case for Michael Schumacher, you know, the 98 heartbreak, the emotion as he won it in 2000. So there's some great memories there. But I think racing-wise, I think just give it to Spa. But I you know, Suzuka, Spa, Interlagos, potentially controversially, but the circuit Gilles Villeneuve, Silverstone, obviously, Monza, incredible tracks. But also, I mean, you know, Bahrain, I'll make this point in the preview as well when I do it on Thursday, but Bahrain still feels like it's a relatively new race. It's been around a long time, but it's actually given us some cracking Grand Prix. So even more modern circuits still give us some great racing and making a name for themselves and will do long term. I think Spa for me just about edges it overall, but I think Suzuka, some incredible memories, both good and bad. But yes, slippery on the left-hand side as we look at it on the grid as the cars go away for the formation lap. Looks like we're working today, so that's all good. Keep your questions and your comments coming throughout the race. I'm trying not to do this as Poundland commentary, but it kind of inevitably happens. So, but I'll try and do it a bit more chill. But I'll definitely keep you updated throughout. We've got the timing anyway in the track map, so you can see the order there. But if you need to know anything, give me a shout, and if I know the answer, I'll tell you. If I don't, I'll waffle for 10 minutes, try and find a reason, and then realise that I don't know and just say I don't know. If it's your first time here, good luck. Please do drop a like on the stream, by the way. 300 of you here this early in the morning or wherever you are in the world late in the afternoon. Appreciate your support. So please do drop a like and subscribe as well if you are new. Hey, Dex. Hope you're well, mate. Yeah. Lots to come this season. There'll be... all being well, if there's something to talk about, there'll be a short out after the race, but if there isn't, there isn't. And then there's a video tomorrow, which I believe is still being tackled by Elizabeth, who's going to sort that one out for a post-race Monday video while I start turning attention to next weekend. That's the beauty of these triple headers. It's all just go, 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 go. And then preview Thursday, of course, and then the quali watch along, the race watch along next weekend. Previous wins, Hamilton, Bottas, and then 3 for Verstappen. I always forget Bottas won 2019, but he did. And no Japanese driver on a podium since Kamui Kobayashi in 2012, as well as the other stat you're looking out for today. I'm sure Crofty will remind us all 100 times during this one. Just going to turn up a little bit. So I need to hear the engine noise. I don't need the commentary. I need to hear the cars. Otherwise, it's just not the same. It's not the same without a bit of noise. So... Sad Mariners fan says Norris plows into Max going into turn 1. Piastri gets caught in the carnage. Leclerc wins. And Pascal says if Piastri wins, he will only be the 3rd driver to win on his birthday after James Hunt and Jean Alesi. Stat. I love a stat, Pascal. I like that one. As Verstappen comes around to the grid now. So that off racing line side of the grid, if you like, looks a bit drier than it was. But I imagine everyone on that side is going to be pretty quick to try and get across the other side. So... Norris might be in a compromised position here early doors. So, yeah. Watch out for Piastri coming through, Russell, Hadjar early on. I tell you what, Hamilton on the hard tyre on that side might struggle here as well. But it doesn't look as bad as it did sort of 20 minutes ago. So it's drying relatively swiftly, but it's not hot. 14 degrees air temperature, 21 degrees track temperature. So it's not hot out there. Let's put it that way. So I'm just yeah. Excuse me. I think Crofty's just used the expression you couldn't write it. I hate it because I'm a pedant. You literally could write. You can write anything. We've got everyone almost on the grid here. Bottas looks on. I think we've got the leaders actually pointing at each other here. We have indeed. We've got Norris pointing left, Verstappen pointing right. I'll count the lights down as always. Green flag at the back. Are we going to get some? Oh, we're going to get some drama here with this. There we go. You need to open a flag, mate. There we go. You got there. 2 lights, 3, 4, 5 lights, and off we go. In Japan, it's a good start for Verstappen. It's a decent one from Norris. Actually comes across cover. Piastri gets into the slipstream of Max Verstappen into turn 1. But Verstappen does lead. Looking further back, everyone looks like they're getting through there nice and easy. It looks like quite a cautious start, actually, throughout the field there. Just maybe a bit greasy still offline. Don't want to take too many risks, but it looks like everyone has got through these first few corners nice and easily without too much drama. Trying to work Stroll and Doohan have made a couple of positions up already between them there. Bortoleto dropping to last place, so a decent start there for them. But Verstappen does lead from Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri in the top 3. Norris tucked in quite nicely behind Verstappen for that toe down to turn 1. Covered off Piastri nicely as well. So that side of the grid wasn't as bad as I think was feared. Let's say, as we have a move there, Fernando Alonso having a look at the inside of Ollie Bearman, I believe, at the hairpin. But Bearman keeps the position, stays tucked up behind Alex Albon. I think the top 10 on the grid is exactly as it was. No changes at all. Alonso's up 1. Gasly's down 1. Hulkenberg's up 1. Sainz is down 1. Ocon doing up a couple. Lawson's lost a couple of places here. Drops to 14th behind Tsunoda. Alonso up to 11th place now as he goes side by side with Pierre Gasly very close to rubbing there. The wheels, they're so tight into one thing. Ooh. Alonso came across there, but all good. Is Gasly going to go for it back at the chicane? He's not at the moment, so Alonso does gain a place into P11. So good start. Fernando Alonso up one place, as I say, but nothing has changed at the front. The top 10 is the top 10. Let's hope something changes between now and the end of the race. Lewis Hamilton right on the back of Isaac Hadjar as well, but Max Verstappen 9/10 clear at the front, trying to break that DRS, which is now enabled. Only the one zone, obviously, down into turn 1. I have no idea what that conversation is about. I'm not even going to get into it, so I'll I'll let you carry on. Yeah, Bortoleto down 3 places, Hulkenberg at 1, but the top 10 not changed at all. Everything behind has shifted. Alonso up 1, Tsunoda up 1, Hulkenberg at 1, Ocon doing a Stroll at 1, Bortoleto down 3. So we'll see what happens to Bortoleto early on, but maybe just that hard tyre, not getting off the line too well. Lap 2 of 53. Sainz moves ahead of Hulkenberg, which we haven't seen. It is an overtake, but we'll wait for any kind of replay on that. Back into 15th. Already starting to spread here the field a little bit. So we've got Verstappen 9/10 clear, nearly a second clear of Norris. We've got Piastri 1.6 off the lead. I need to change best lap to last lap, don't we, on the timing? One day I remember to do this at the start, but yeah, we'll just change that to last lap. Best lap is irrelevant because we're not qualifying, so there we go. We don't get a point fastest lap anymore, so there we go. Last lap. 33.9. I think he does have DRS, doesn't he, Norris? Yes, he does, but it is a second, or was a second, to Verstappen, but DRS trains will start to form here, I'm sure. But yeah, steady start. Nothing too dramatic from what I've seen. Wait for the replays of the start. I want to say up to Bortoleto. What we're watching, Kimi Antonelli here has gone, I say not dramatic, cuts the chicane. There we go. Once upon a time, that would have been grass there, but it's not. It's just a bit of, I assume, some sort of asphalt runoff. Off he goes. All still good there for him. He's still in 6th place. Personal best across the board, of course. First hot lap since the start of the race. Verstappen has broken DRS now, a second, but Norris coming back at him with the fastest first sector of the race so far. Verstappen says upshifts are, again, really, really bad. So some problems there for sure. Why is Hamilton on hard? Says Jonathan. Lord have mercy. Long game. I wasn't expecting any hard starts. Thought it'd be medium or soft. But yeah, he's not doing too bad there. 8/10 behind Hadjar. Still in 8th place. Not lost anything, not gained anything. Tsunoda is ahead of Lawson, as we've already said. He's got ahead of him there. But Yuki needs to make some progress today. Obviously, lap time deleted for Antonelli, but steady start. Leclerc will be under tremendous pressure without DRS, says Hans. Where is he? He's, 1.2 behind Piastri. He's got Russell behind him, half a second already. So this is what I thought might happen. The top 3 might start to sprint away, although, Leclerc isn't too far off. He's still there. Upshift's worse in the first sector, apparently, is what Verstappen's saying there. Half a second here between Leclerc and Russell. Actually, Leclerc not falling back as far as I thought looking at that image. I know we've got the timings, and yeah, sometimes just seeing the picture, it doesn't look quite so bad, does it? But still close there. Let's see the race. I want to watch Bortoleto. Where is he? He's back there. I'm guessing just the hard tyre, not great off the line. Yeah, not great off the line at all for Bortoleto. Immediately passed before they even get to the gantry there with the lights on by 2 cars, and then Stroll's going to send it into turn 1, is he? He's going to, Stroll at the inside of turn 2, actually. That's a nice little move at the start, and actually gets alongside Doohan as well. Doesn't quite get through, though, and no accident like we saw last year through those S's, so good stuff. But Verstappen, very much what we watch. Who's this going to be? So Antonelli is looking back from his camera now as he fends off Hadjar and Hamilton and co. But yeah, Hadjar, good start as well. He's had since his spin in Australia on that formation lap, Hadjar's been really, really solid. He's impressed me. He could have really collapsed after that, couldn't he? But he didn't. His confidence took a hit, but he bounced back really quickly and has done a cracking job for Racing Bulls there. Bortoleto just backwards on that hard tyre. Lots of little puddles everywhere, actually. Not too bad. But, no need for incident or anything, and hopefully it'll dry out fairly quickly, and then everyone will be very happy, and then it'll chuck it down with rain, and they'll have to pit, and then it'll dry out again, and that's the kind of race I want to see. Is Gasly around the outside there of Alonso at Spoon. Alonso keeps it on the inside, nicely done, and then Fernando will keep that position as we know. 11th place is so close to contact. So it's rubbing wheels on the run to 130. Gasly thought about it, and then I think lifts off and decides probably not the best idea. Thinks better of it. As Lawson gets a twitch at Spoon, and that allows Tsunoda to slip up the inside. There we go. That's all your action for the first couple of laps. Yeah. This is Sainz. This is the move we spotted on Hulkenberg earlier. Down the inside, late braking into the hairpin. Really nice move. And up into 15th place. Again, having lost a place off the line. 1.4 seconds of gap at the front, by the way. So things settling down now. I say settling down. They didn't really ever take off the line, did they? But this could be a long one. We'll see. Are you thinking that it's going to rain or just playing the long game? Asked Jonathan. Rain is forecast. 20% is the official amount, but it is the official chance, but it's only supposed to be a bit of drizzle. So I think the worst it's going to do, unless that's wrong, is grease up the track a bit. I don't think we're going to get to intermediates, but I think hard tyre now for Hamilton maybe is what he's thinking. Jonathan, get this out of the way and then move to potentially the quicker medium for the final phase of the race, so he might be able to make some places there. But he is right in the back of Hadjar here, as you'd expect in the Ferrari. 4 tenths between him. He's got DRS as well. Is it 4 tenths off the final corner? Remember that number if we can. Hamilton then into turn 1, does go down the inside and moves himself up into 7th place. So 4 tenths was more than enough out that final corner with DRS to get past by turn 1. So bear that in mind for later when the scraps start happening at the front, hopefully. So Hamilton up into 7th place and now can chase after Kimi Antonelli, who is where is he? Up the road. 2 seconds. 2 seconds. There we go. Any Crofty impression, says Dex. I'm trying to think of a Crofty impression now. I don't think he does anything, not to be like really awful. I don't think he does anything memorable to give an impression. You know, he's not yet had a Nigella Lawson and a Micro Wave, so maybe he's a light side. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm definitely not going to do it. Leclerc 1.3 behind Piastri at the moment, so still in the mix. So my concerns there was dropping off are not really based on anything in the end. Russell, half a second still behind, though, so he's still in the mix. Piastri now catching, or has caught, or stayed within DRS at least, of Lando Norris. So maybe a battle here between the two McLarens. I'm sure they'll call team orders. Alex Albon on the back of Hadjar now. So Hadjar just starting to fall back a little bit from this battle, which isn't a great surprise. You would think, or you would expect to see Hadjar sort of back end of the points with Albon and Bearman fighting there. Not really at the front, but good start season for Racing Bulls. Hopefully better race today. They've been qualifying really well, but the races have just not worked through strategy or bad timing on things, and hopefully today's the race they can pick up some decent points. Ron wants to know how Oscar's looking. He is 6 tenths behind Norris, only 7 tenths behind, and 2.7 off the lead at the moment, and just sort of closing in. He's just closed the gap a bit on this lap to Norris. So this could be an interesting fight potentially, or could be an interesting fight potentially, but we'll see if McLaren let him fight early doors, because at the moment Verstappen 2 seconds up the road has been complaining of his upshifts. Now the shifts are better, and his lap times are pretty decent as well out front. So 2 seconds clear. See what happens in the coming laps. Lap 7 of 53. McLaren's in tyre management mode. Do you know, Hans, I nearly said that. Just looking after tyres, get the gap. Don't let them grain up too much. Don't let them wear. And then when Verstappen pits, push around the pit stops. We've seen that a lot, haven't we, over the last sort of 12, 18 months. It's what McLaren like to do. Look after tyres early doors and then absolutely hammer it around the pit stops and pick up places. So I'm sure Red Bull will be aware of that. They'll be keeping an eye on it, as Piastri now 9 tenths behind Norris, but still has DRS. So I wonder if McLaren maybe... We'll find out if he gets close enough, won't we? But maybe McLaren are thinking here, just look after these tyres, as you say, Hans, and then use the DRS from Piastri, from Norris to Piastri to keep him in the game, keep Leclerc comfortably at bay. There might be some strategy going on here, but we'll hopefully see a fight. We'll see. Hey Zero, hope you well. Max is going to lead by 9 seconds soon, says Zinion. Where is he? What's he doing lap time wise? 33.5 last time around to Norris's 33.8. 2 seconds of gap. So not quite pulling away by that level yet, but he's definitely quick at the moment. Annabelle says, points for Yuki today? Question. He's 13th already, so he's up a place, which doesn't sound too spectacular, but did he drop a place over Lando? Did he? No, he didn't. No. So it's not that spectacular. He's gained a place. He's ahead of Lawson. He is 7 tenths, 8 tenths behind Gasly, so he's not completely out of it for points. Very early days yet, of course, but you'd like to think that with that car, even though it's difficult to drive, he'll be able to dispatch Gasly and Alonso and Bearman and get himself up there, but tough to pass here. I know I've just seen Hamilton overtake. We saw Sainz make a move with the hairpin, but not the easiest, especially with one DRS zone, so might need to rely on strategy a little bit. Piastri, that gap just consistent between Norris and Piastri. That's why I wonder if they're just sort of working together here to keep him in the game and just keep Leclerc well behind. But we have only got 9 seconds covering the top 7, which I appreciate after 9 laps is still quite a gap. But it's not a huge deficit for everybody there. Yeah. Hamilton is closing in as well a little bit on Antonelli, so that could become a fight at some point. And this is Lawson with Sainz behind him at the moment. So the Racing Bulls race pace, not awful, but not spectacular. Although on that last lap, Hadjar did actually pull away a little bit from Alex Albon. So we'll see what Lawson and Carlos Sainz do here. Norris on the radio. Possible rain on lap 20. Class 1 doesn't change our plan. It should last about 1 lap. So Class 1, I assume, is the lightest. That fine rain soaks you through. Yeah, not gonna cause too many problems for them. But, you know, Class 1 could quickly become Class 2, I suppose. It is a little bit cloudy out there, but just a bit murky and miserable. Like I say, middle of the British summertime kind of weather. Fine, yeah. Yeah. Drizzly. Miserable. Yeah, lap 20 we're watching out for. So 11 laps to go, or 10 laps now. Well, it's still 11, isn't it? To lap 20, see if the rain does come. But that just keeps the track greasy. It keeps things interesting, doesn't it? But as much of a challenge as it is for the drivers when it's a bit greasy, if it gets a bit damp offline, it just makes overtaking harder, doesn't it? So I'd rather it either rained properly to the point we need inters, or just dried out so we can actually see some overtaking. Not that really. Who's challenging for an overtake right now? Let's have a look. Russell is on the back of Leclerc, 7 tenths. The gap between Piastri and Norris is suddenly 1.7 seconds. It's into the pits to get rid of his soft tyres. Is Lance Stroll for a set of the hard. So that, I mean, can he take those to the end from here? What would Pirelli saying if they start on the soft? So soft tyres starts. I can't find the graphic now. I had it a second ago. Soft tyre from the start, lap 8 to 14, or lap 10 to 16. He's pitted on lap 9, didn't he, really? Because it's lap 10 and he was at the end of lap 9. So maybe medium to hard. He could run the hards. I mean, it's only 1 lap less, so he could run the hards to the end here. So maybe that's what they're thinking, get Stroll out of any traffic and then let him push back there in 20th place and undercut everybody ahead. But that might trigger some stops ahead of him. It might. Let's see what happens. But yeah, overtakes wise, in terms of the gaps, there's complaints from Alex Albon about shifts. It's been not very nice at the start. It's been not very nice now. So has to be more specific. I think the stars is they're crap, rubbish, nonsense. So not happy. So yeah, I was looking for overtakes. So possibilities. Yeah, Sainz 7 tenths behind Lawson, Tsunoda 8 tenths behind Gasly, and Russell 5 tenths behind Leclerc. So they're really the closest battles. But there's not much more than a 1.5 to 2 seconds behind between everybody. So it's a close field. I'm not even getting into that debate. Track still wet. Is everyone on the same tyres until first stop? Asked Scott. Yeah, it's greasy offline. You can sort of see the darker patches where it's a bit wet, but it's not anything that's stopping. Not anything that's causing too many problems. We see little splashes every now and again as somebody goes through a puddle or a bit of a damp patch, but it's nowhere near anything like Inter's at all. It's, if anything, it's easily slicks. But yeah. I'm sort of listening to Crofty here. Some chat about tyres between the McLarens, apparently. So, or McLaren team. 2.1 the lead, by the way, for Verstappen. Last lap of 33.5. Norris 33.6. Piastri 34.1. Piastri has dropped back, so I wonder if they are just going to get him to drop back by a couple of seconds now and look after his tyres. But he can't go too far because Leclerc is only a second and a half behind him. So, he's not got that kind of comfort zone at the moment, but yeah. In terms of action so far, Antonelli got a lap time deleted for cutting the chicane early on. Bortoleto had a bad start and dropped down to 19th. Stroll has pitted and moved on to the hard tyre, having started on the soft and done 9 laps on those. And Fernando, Alonso and Pierre Gasly had an interesting little scrap, or a nice little scrap actually, around Spoon and on the run to 130R. But a quiet start. So hopefully this is going to be one of those that's a bit of a slow burner and it all comes to life a little bit later on. But Russell not really making any impression on Leclerc at the moment. It's been around sort of half a second, 7/10 for a while now. Everyone's settling into a rhythm. That's what I'm going to say. I think that could be a smart move from Aston Martin. He's quick enough on the hards at the moment. Get the softs off, get the hards on. They can go to the end from here, according to Pirelli. Thank you, Zero, for the super chat. Says 1 or 2 stop strategy. Which one are we looking for? According to Pirelli, a 1 stop is the way they're going to go. So, and I think that's maybe what Stroll's thinking here. Soft tyre to hard tyre, run those hards to the end. Also gives you options if we get a safety car later on or something. I think 1 stop for most. And I think we're in a bit of a time management phase here as well. So it's the kind of borderline 1-2 stopper can really make things interesting in a race, but it can also make it a bit dull because everyone just looks after their tyres early doors and doesn't push as hard as they can and looks after what they can and try to force it to a 1 stopper. So no sign of graining for Norris or anybody else on this compound. A rear thermal limiting race, so keep those rears cool or cooler. Norris just starting. Piastri's fast up the race, by the way, and Norris just starting to close in a bit on Verstappen now, 1.8 seconds. So maybe McLaren just have gone through this phase, start to push a bit now. No, not even red flags by burning grass. Yeah, I need to set fire some grass, Dex. Just run nice and close to the edge. Russell has dropped now to a second behind Leclerc. So it has Leclerc 33.7, so a 10th quicker. So Russell's lap time, he lost a couple of tenths in the first section this time around. 3 tenths in the middle, so that's where the time's gone there. So that's why we are where we are. But Tsunoda's family there, down at Red Bull. Very proud, I'm sure. That's the first time I've seen Yuki Tsunoda's dad anywhere, I think. I might be wrong. It's Howie is hoping for a George Russell win. Scott says Stroll is aiming for P18. How does the circuit cross each other? Asks AT. Oh, God, here we go. So you come round the second Degner, which is turn 9, and you go under the bridge, which is then above you is the run into 130R, which is turn 15. So that's where they cross. It's difficult on a track map because it does look like they're just... it's a junction, doesn't it? It's what it looks like on a track map. So, yeah, but it is a bridge. It is a bridge underneath after Degner 2. Frank says Yuki has to get points. Raised our eyebrows. I kind of love the idea of a junction, like traffic lights. When someone's coming, you just got to stop a minute and let them through. Nice and safe as well, definitely. I should say those pictures, by the way, that are next to me on the stream, they are from the weekend and not today. There is no fire at the side of the track. Don't worry, that was from the rest of the weekend where it's done nothing but burn. Tsunoda 8/10 behind Gasly, by the way, is the closest. So Bortoleto is 7/10 behind Doohan in the thrilling battle for 18th. And then it's Tsunoda 9/10 off Gasly. So that's the only two gaps under a second at the moment. Not that every other gap is 30 seconds. Not much in it at all through the field. Lawson needs to pick up the pace a bit. 34.5. Quite a way off in the end, actually. Where is he? 3.5 behind Tsunoda. Hamilton 1.5 behind Antonelli on the hard tyre there. So keeping himself in play here. We're about 5 laps away from this rain that we're supposed to be getting. So, yeah, roundabout. That'll do. We like a roundabout in the UK. That was a good shot. Actually, if you watch on the TV, that was a good shot of the flyover there of the track from the helicopter. As we look at the hairpin. Is this Max Verstappen we're watching? Yes, it is. I wasn't quite sure then. It was a Racing Bulls or it was the other Red Bull. I wasn't sure, but it is Max Verstappen coming through Spoon. The gap 2.1 seconds. So Verstappen responding to that quicker lap from Lando Norris of a 1:33, whatever it was at the time. 4. Now a tenth quicker than that. So he seems to have this under control at the moment, but we don't know what McLaren are doing in terms of tyre management. You can see now the tram line starting to appear a bit more on that drying line on lap 15 of 53. My money's still on Russell. Haven't figured out yet, though, says Dex. Why is first place listed with a red number, asks Michael. I assume to highlight that the person at the top of the tower with the one next to them is first, because apparently there weren't enough clues beforehand. I don't know. A lot of the graphics I look at, I go, do we need that? Do we need that? Really? I'm not sure. Does Oscar need the okay to pass Lando? Asks Ron. Probably, but he needs to get a bit closer than he is at the moment. 1.4 as Doohan pits. Yay, something happened. Jack Doohan's in the pits in 19th place. I assume we'll get rid of those and put on another set or fresh set of the hards for Doohan. So soft. He went a lot longer than Stroll did. Let's see, 15 laps on the softs. And here comes Stroll now. Has this... That's not worked for Stroll at all, has it, at this stage? In fact, Doohan had time to do another 6 laps and has still rejoined in front of him. So that's not worked for Stroll at all. So I don't know what the gap was. Whether Stroll had a problem or made a mistake or whatever. But if that's strategy, it's not worked at the moment. At all. Do you think Verstappen will struggle to keep pole? Asks Shannon. He's doing all right at the moment, Shannon. 2.1 clear. Norris fastest first sector last time around, by the way, and marginally quicker. 300s quicker. But I think in these conditions, greasy, plays to his strengths. It's tough at the moment. I don't think he'll struggle. If anyone can, Max Verstappen can. Carlos Sainz locking up and cutting the chicane, but I still think McLaren have a bit more pace in hand. I just wonder if we're managing at the moment. So we've got Tsunoda here now on the back of Pierre Gasly, a bit closer than he was last time we checked in. So 0.7 of a second. Neo says Aston taking notes from Ferrari. Yeah, they've borrowed their strategy book. Michael says makes me feel like they think I'm stupid. Yeah, you're not stupid, Michael. Don't worry. I know what you mean, though. I thought they were going to go to a break then on Sky for some reason. They just stopped talking. This track fits Max pretty good, says Tommy Guy. Yeah, 3 poles and 3 wins from the last 3 races here. So he knows the track well. He loves it well. Won a championship here, didn't he, in 22? Yeah. 20. Was it 23? Qatar Sprint was one of them. The confusion after Japan 1 year, I think that was 22, where people couldn't work out if it was half points, quarter points, full points, or what. And last year was Vegas, wasn't it? So yeah. No spins yet. No real anything. We had that was I did enjoy the fight between Gasly and Alonso on the first lap. That was pretty close and pretty fun. But yeah. Our main time loss of Verstappen is a hairpin, according to Norris' engineer. You and Oscar are similar. There you go. Yeah, Sainz's lap time obviously deleted for cutting that chicane there. Norris, purple first sector, coming back at Verstappen now, so maybe things are going to start to spice up a bit now. I don't know. We'll see what Verstappen's response is next lap, but I think Norris going for a fastest lap here. Not that, of course, that means anything anymore. No points. Norris told to box to overtake Verstappen. Where does that put Norris, though? That's a bluff, surely. Because that could put him behind Bearman, possibly Alonso. No, it was it was a bluff. It was a bluff. He's kept going. Leaving the track and gaining an advantage, Carlos Sainz is noted for turn 17. Yes, that was a bluff from McLaren. Red Bull not falling for that one. Yeah, way too early for a stop. It would have put him behind Bearman at least. Possibly Alonso if it was a slightly slow stop. So, you don't want that traffic on a track like this. Did Sainz gain an advantage cutting that chicane? I suppose a time advantage. He didn't pass anyone, did he? So, yeah, I'm quiet. I don't know what to say to you, really. So let's have a look at what you're asking and what you're saying in chat. Dex says, let's play some F1 trivia or something. This race is making me fall asleep. Yeah, throw some questions at us then, chat. Some trivia questions or whatever. See what happens. It's a simple game. 20 drivers racing, not so circle. Fast cars go vroom, vroom. And at last, Max Verstappen wins because Red Bull gave him wings. There you go. Almost poetic there. I like it. Yeah, it's not. I'm not going to sit here and try and sell this as a thriller. Lando been told his pace is strong. He has cut the gap to Verstappen, so we are starting to pick up a little bit. But I just wonder if this first phase has just been about tyre management. Russell told to box here, so Russell is going to pull the trigger, and he does pit. Russell is in the pits. So he's going to try it here, Russell. So George going for an undercut. The undercut was pretty powerful here last year, or not powerful, effective is the word I would use. Powerful was maybe overselling it a bit, but could be important today. See what happens here. So Russell, in he comes. On go a nice new set of hard tyres. What can he do? Stroll didn't really set the world alight on those, but then it's Stroll. Where's he going to come out here? Verstappen says, do you want me to push or not? Which is always thrilling as a fan to sit there and ask to see if the drivers are pushing, and then they come out and say that. But there you go. So he's been told to push as Max Verstappen. So Russell, this was the problem. Russell rejoins 13th, and he's got 2.8 to Tsunoda. It's not too bad, actually. He's got a gap. If he can push in that gap now, Ferrari will need to respond. So we are starting to get going here by the look of it. Yeah, Piastri complaining of sliding to his engineer, apparently. Anthony Davis is saying there. Sorry, I was just listening to that one. Verstappen has picked up the pace, but Norris... Well, no. Verstappen quicker in the first and second sectors. The gap has got up a little bit, but there's not much in it at all. McLaren are going to pull in Piastri. So Piastri does box here. So interesting shout. In he comes. Oscar Piastri. I assume hards to the end from here as Leclerc moves into third place. We'll keep an eye on Russell's pace. Fastest second sector on his outlap. So Ferrari are not responding at this point to the quicker Russell. Piastri, fresh set of hards. So about 23, 24 seconds for pit loss there for Piastri. So he is going to get just in front of the Aston Martin. So he has got a gap here, Piastri, but not much of one. As Russell does purple final sector. So Ferrari choosing not to respond to Russell, who's gone purple and purple already. So he's absolutely on one here as Norris goes purple in the first sector. No further investigation on the Sainz. Sainz leaving the track and getting advantage. So there we go. 1.4 seconds of gap at the front. Norris has the fastest lap, but Verstappen was quicker on the last lap. Norris responding, though, this lap a little bit quicker in the first sector. Looks like McLaren are getting ready to go with Lando's tyres here. So Will Tsunoda very close to the back here of Pierre Gasly for 11th place. Interesting. So they're trying to force Verstappen. So Leclerc told to box. So Red Bull have pitted, as has Lando Norris. So Verstappen and Norris both in the pit lane here for their, I assume, one and only stop. Leclerc follows them in as well. So a busy pit lane here. In fact, I wonder if Leclerc may force Verstappen to be held here. Oh, that is close between the two of them. They're side by side on pit exit. Why are we watching to put tyres on a Ferrari when we've got cars side by side? On pit exit, and Norris is on the grass on pit exit. Very nearly losing that one. What has happened now? Why are we watching them put a tyre on a Ferrari when we've got the leaders going side by side on pit exit? Come on, TV director, wake up. I know it's been a bit cack so far, but come on. Interesting. Antonelli leads, by the way. Is that the first time he leads as a Formula One driver? Norris saying he forced me off. Let's wait and see for a replay before we go jumping to that conclusion. But if they're side by side pit exit, they definitely were. I wonder if Verstappen was held because Leclerc was coming in. We'll wait for a replay. Hopefully that woke everybody up. There we go. It certainly woke Norris up, that's for sure. Here we go. It's a great stop from McLaren, by the way. I wanted to see the off-board, really. So they are... Off goes Norris. They are... So Verstappen's ahead on pit exit. I don't think... I need to see the off-board. I don't know. I'm going to watch the off-board now. So Verstappen... Oh, we're on board with Verstappen. Even better. I don't think Verstappen came across there hard enough to call that forced off. No, I'm not having that. Call me biased if you want, but I'm not having that. He's not come across and squeezed him. He's left him just about... Yeah, no, I'm not having that. It was tight, but Verstappen was ahead. Then Norris sort of had the better exit and started to come alongside him, but Verstappen's not moved heavily across and squeezed him, has he, that much? I mean, I don't know. Maybe you'll disagree. Let me know. I'm sure they'll look at it, but Norris is ahead of Piastri. Verstappen in 5th, by the way. Norris saw me alongside. I was easy alongside, so we're going to get 30 laps of whining now, I'd imagine, which is always thrilling to watch and enjoy. I keep saying I'd love to get rid of team radio. That's every driver, by the way, not just certain ones. It's Hulkenberg pits. Not sold. Yeah, that's the other thing. Potential said Max can't go left because he cuts the pit exit line, doesn't he, and gets a penalty. So what can he do? Verstappen saying he turned the pit limiter off early. So that we're playing games on the radio now. That not for me. The off-board might tell a different story. The on-boards, no. We're going to get an on-board. Let's have a look. So no, Leclerc didn't hold. Verstappen's ahead there and ahead there. They both turned the pit limiter off at the same time by the look of it. No, I don't think so. Here we go. Here's what I wanted, the front shot. Let's see. Verstappen in the middle. No, I don't think there's enough in that for anything. Let me know what you think in chat. But yeah, Antonelli is leading. So first time as a race leader. Does that make him youngest ever? Possibly. Maybe. I don't know. I don't think so. No, can't be, can he? No. Can't be. I think somebody won a race younger, didn't they? Somebody. In comes Tsunoda. Down to P17 now. Bearman in the pits as well. So it's all kicking off now. We've got stops. But Antonelli, actually his pace not bad either. In fact, his pace very good, 33.1 on the used medium tyres there. Verstappen fastest lap so far. Doesn't look like the stewards are looking at that one. So that's game over there. But yeah. Michael says racing incident. Do you know what, Michael? I'm not arguing with you. I don't even think it was an incident. Let alone a racing incident. I'm just not sure it was anything. Absolutely, if he actually moves to the right and squeezes him over, maybe there's a different conversation. But I don't think anything happens there. So barely. I mean, the most exciting thing that's happened in this race by a mile. But you know, the bar wasn't very high. Let's be honest. I'm gonna have to check this. I don't. Yeah. F1 driver records. I'm sure he can't be youngest winner anymore. I know I'm not talking about winning this race. I'm just saying I might be wrong, but let's have a look. Youngest winners: Verstappen, 18 years and 228 days. I think Antonelli could be, but yeah, no, it's not happening. He's not winning it. This is between Verstappen, Norris, and possibly Piastri. So into the pits comes Fernando Alonso. I'm going to end the poll. I should have done it at the start. I forgot. 55% of you, and of course you all voted before we started this one, didn't you? So there you go. Voted for Verstappen for the win. Norris 20th, 16th for anybody else, and 9 for Piastri. Is your percentages. Lewis yet to stop. Antonelli yet to stop. Isaac Hadjar yet to stop. As are Lawson, Sainz, Ocon, Bortoleto as well. So Albon says, you guys make no sense. You're ridiculous. Yeah. He's not happy, Alex Albon on the radio there. They have noted the incident on pit exit. If that's a penalty, I think we pack up and go home. There's nothing in that at all. So... But it would be good for Drive to Survive, though. So, there you go. Verstappen still net race leader, 1.2 behind Hadjar here. I imagine this will be one of his easier overtakes, unless Hadjar just pulls into the pits. Hadjar... Does Hadjar pit? He does indeed. Hadjar pits. There we go. No further investigation necessary for the incident between Verstappen and the... incident between Verstappen and Norris. So there we go, all sorted. Hadjar has pitted then, so he's going to fall behind Russell. Is this what he's fighting here? Trying to get ahead of Lawson, who's yet to stop. That's not really worked too well for Hadjar there, has it? He's going to come up behind Sainz and Lawson, who are yet to stop, and right behind them as well. So that's not great. He is ahead of Bearman, though, which is critical for his race. So I suppose that's really was the priority there rather than clean air, although it's not too bad, the gap he's got. So Lance Stroll, somebody asking where he is. He's 20th, well off the pace, a second behind Hulkenberg. Whatever that plan was with the strategy, it's not worked, unless they're going for a two-stopper. But, I mean, you may as well try something different, hadn't you, really, back there. But, yeah, if you are just tuning in, Antonelli leads, yet to stop. Hamilton is second, yet to stop. Verstappen, everybody's pitted except for Lawson, Sainz, Ocon and Bortoleto behind, but Verstappen, net race leader, currently third. Norris fourth. Fifth is Piastri. Sixth is Leclerc. Seventh, Russell. Eighth is Lawson, as Sainz again cuts the chicane now, unless that's a replay from earlier. Ninth, Sainz. 10th, Hadjar. 11th, Ocon. 12th, Bortoleto. 13th, Albon. 14th, Bearman. 15th Alonso, 16th Tsunoda, 17th Doohan, 18th Gasly, 19th Hulkenberg, and 20th Stroll. Stroll was first to pit to get rid of the soft tyres after 9 laps and has been running the hards ever since. Gasly and Alonso had a good fight on the first lap, and that was pretty much all that happened, apart from a couple of overtakes. Sainz at the hairpin on the first lap as well made a good move, but that was all that pretty much happened until we got to the pit stop phase, where Norris and Verstappen went side by side on pit exit, and Norris ended up on the grass and complained Verstappen, who didn't squeeze him, had squeezed him. Yeah, been told no further action. Have to overtake him on track. Doing a good job with the tyres. No response, or at least no response that was broadcastable. Yeah, but that's the end of that one. So yeah, Sainz did, that was a different track limits thing from Sainz at the chicane. So that's 2 for him. And again, noted for leaving the track and gaining an advantage, Carlos Sainz. Yeah. Are we going to go quiet now again for a bit until the next round of stops? If we get a next round of stops, I don't think we will. I think that's probably it now. Pit stop wise, I mean. But Norris versus Verstappen on track. The other thing as well worth keeping an eye on is any potential damage to Norris's car, you know. It's bumpy down there on the grass, and he was carrying speed over there, wasn't he, on pit exit? Not too much, but enough. So Antonelli track limits turn 17 time deleted. So I don't know when that was, but it's not on the list here. His last one was a while ago, wasn't it? Yeah. Interesting. That was on lap 2. So he's not had a new one according to the list, but there we go. Hey ho. Any rain close? Asked Michael. No, it doesn't look like it. It was supposed to go around lap 20, wasn't it? A bit of drizzle, but it's not happened. Here we go. We've got some action here as Alex Albon goes for a Bortoleto into turn 1. DRS wide open, slides through and up into 12th pace. Nice, easy overtake for Albon. So a pass there. Good to see. 2 seconds of gap between Verstappen and Norris. Worth keeping an eye on that one because that is effectively the gap for the lead here. But Antonelli running really nicely on his tyres. 27 laps for Hamilton on the hards, of course, and 27 laps on the medium for Antonelli. So some good pace as well there. 33.3 for him. A little bit slower than Hamilton and considerably slower than the lead 3, as you'd expect. Is that Tsunoda? Yes, it is. Locking up at the chicane and cutting it slightly there. Definitely lost time through there. 16th at the moment, Yuki Tsunoda. He has stopped. So he will gain places when Bortoleto, Ocon, Sainz and Lawson pit. What, to show another replay of this pit exit. It's actually, you know, for a run-off grass area, it's quite smooth there. Someone's got a great photo, by the way. I don't know who's down there, hopefully XPB, but that looked like it was going to be a cracking photo. Let's have a quick drink and then I'll be back with you in a sec. There we go. Ready for the next phase of the races. Here goes Alex Albon around the outside of turn 1 on Esteban Ocon for P11. Ocon yet to stop, of course. 29 laps on those hard tyres. So, because they were used, weren't they, on Ocon at the start? I've got scrubbed a lap on them. A good move from Albon there around the outside of 1. Always good to see cars around the outside of corners like that, but probably not the toughest with the older tyres on the Haas. Watch this again. That's a nice move. Yeah, it's not, like I say, new tyres versus old tyres. DRS. Ocon no point fighting because he's in a completely different race at this stage anyway. But still nice to see the cars around the outside as Verstappen now. 2 seconds still clear as Norris is fast up at 32.0. Isaac Hadjar right on the back here of Carlos Sainz. Hadjar has pitted now, hasn't he? So Sainz hasn't. What's Hadjar going to be thinking? Is he going to have a go down the straight? He should do. He's not going to go for it into 130R though. Sainz a little bit wide there though. On the exit of 130R. But Hadjar, I imagine, 3/10 between them is going to absolutely breeze past. Once that DRS opens. DRS open now. Sainz just a little bit of weaving there, but nothing Does go defensive, Sainz, and Hadjar's going to try on the outside of Carlos Sainz. It's a nice move that. Sainz did defend, but Hadjar got the move done around the outside of turn 1 and up into ninth place. His teammate, Liam Lawson, is next one up the road. So good stuff from Hadjar there, back into the points and should gain places as Lawson pits, unless, of course, he passes him beforehand. Watching Sainz here at 130R. It wasn't that wide. He looked wider than he was. I think he kicks a bit of dust. So, but yeah, through the chicane. And then Hadjar's going to go through. So Sainz goes across. He just sort of come back a little bit. And maybe that's why Hadjar hesitated slightly there. But I don't think there's anything in that at all. So I was gonna have a look at. Oh, big lock up there for Lewis Hamilton, who's gone very deep into chicane. That might cost Verstappen a little bit of time. Surely Hamilton pits. Hamilton does pit. There we go. He'll get DRS though, Verstappen. So Hamilton in the pits. There we go. Someone says, why did Hamilton start on the hard tyres? I'm not sure, because I thought run them long, get the faster tyre on later, but actually Antonelli's going longer on the mediums. So hanging for a safety car, maybe Ted suggesting there. But yeah, Antonelli, 30 laps on the mediums, so could have maybe done that on the... I mean, only a second slower than Verstappen, Antonelli. Not even that, sorry. I read it wrong. 4/10. I thought it was a 0. It was a 6. I was looking on the smaller screen. Yes, Hamilton did lock up into the chicane, but he was coming in anyway. Verstappen will have got DRS as well down the straight to help him a little bit. Gap up front, 4.1 seconds, but gap to Verstappen to Norris, which is one we need to keep an eye on, is 1.5 seconds. So, yeah. Ferrari strats, they were hoping for rain, I think, says Louis. Yeah, probably. I think there was, as Carlos Sainz lets Alex Albon through there. But yeah, I think it was Antonelli, but I do wonder if they were also trying to hang for a safety car a bit. Best chance for them today. But Hamilton does, crucially for him, get out ahead of Isaac Hadjar comfortably. I was wondering, but no, that was comfortable. As Verstappen does the fastest lap on a 1:31.7, only fractionally quicker than Lando Norris, 300th between them. Antonelli on his way out the pits then. Fresh set of hard tyres. Should be out ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Is indeed. And then behind George Russell. So good stuff from Antonelli there. Got some laps led. Yeah, no. It's an interesting idea, actually, Killjoy, putting the softs onto the end, but 20 laps on softs. Best we've got so far is 15, but I suppose actually lower fuel loads, maybe. You probably have to do a bit more than another couple of laps. But yeah, no, I get where you're coming from there. It wasn't a bad idea to give it a go, but yeah. 1.4 seconds a gap, by the way. We've reset pre-pit stops. Verstappen leads, Norris second, Piastri third. 1.4 between Verstappen and Norris, 3.5 between the top 3, so Piastri 2.1 behind Norris. Leclerc is 4th, Russell is 5th, and Antonelli is 6th. Very much I think Verstappen and Norris, Piastri, and then everybody else, isn't it, really? Antonelli in 6th after his pit stop. Ocon on the radio, being told to swap. Please swap out of turn 14, 22 laps to go. So they are going to swap the Haas drivers around. Makes sense. Ocon is yet to stop. 32 laps on hard. So I wonder if Haas is just going to really goal hang for a safety car here now. Where was it up to? Hamilton 7th, Hadjar 8th, Lawson in 9th, 10th for Albon, 11th for Sainz, 12th for Ocon, 13th for Bearman, 14th for Alonso, 15th Tsunoda, 16th Doohan, 17th Gasly, 18th Hulkenberg, 19th Bortoleto, and 20th for Stroll as Albon passes Liam Lawson to take 9th place, but yet to stop are Ocon, Sainz, and Lawson. Everyone else has pitted. Ocon now pits. So that's the end of that one. So I'm listening to Crofty. Gasly and Doohan going to swap places as well. They've done that. Crofty suggesting, surprisingly, I'm sure, that McLaren let Piastri go, tell him not to look after his tyres, and then put the pressure on Max Verstappen because Norris isn't and there's no threat from Leclerc. So, or Norris could ignore his tyres. I suppose that doesn't fit though, does it? So, Gasly says thanks for that over the radio as he goes past Doohan. 131.4 for Piastri at the moment, so 1.6 behind Norris, 1.4 Norris to Verstappen. So the title is messing up, Sean. Can you change it? Oh, it does say quality watch on, doesn't it? Oh yeah. Wake up, Sean. I better change that. Thank you. I don't know why I didn't do that yesterday. I thought I had. I probably did and then didn't save it as a thing. So apologies there. So if people that were tuning in thinking it was quali, apologies. And if you did already warn me of it or tell me about it, then sorry that I didn't spot your comment. I was watching the thrilling race we've got here. So. Yeah, an hour and a half to notice that was wrong. I'm sure somebody's already mentioned it in chat and I've missed it, so apologies. But yeah, I think the header's there so that there's something up there. I think you could have worked out that given that it is Grand Prix Sunday, it's the race watch on and not the quali one. But there we go. Lawson and Sainz have both pitted. They were the last two needing to stop. Lawson down to 16th, Sainz down to 17th. Neither driver having a great race when you consider that Hadjar is 8th and Albon is 9th. However, what I will say, where's Killjoy in chat? Suggested it for Antonelli. Lawson and Sainz have both gone to the soft tyres. So that's something to keep an eye on. There we go. A few people find it quite funny that we've only just noticed the difference in the title. There we go. It's all sorted. And thanks to anybody who's got my number who's watching and didn't bother to give me a shout. I might have tons of messages. I better check, really. Sean, you're wrong. No, not a word. That's just rude. Very rude. Yeah, no, just check it out. Sorry. Tsunoda gained a few places. Where is he? Yeah, he's up to 12th. Couple of places gave him, so up from where they were. Hamilton's up 1 place from the start. Hadjar's down 1. They've swapped, obviously, therefore. Alonso up 1. Tsunoda up 2. Gasly down 2. Doohan up 5. Hulkenberg up 1. Lawson down 3. Sainz down 2. Bortoleto down 2. As it stands, 61 points for Max Verstappen in the Drivers' Championship. Still second. 19 to go. I'm keeping an eye now. We've got to keep an eye on Lawson and Sainz on those soft tyres. Either this is inspired or it's just not going to work. But yeah, either way. Let's see. Do you think Lando can overtake Max, or is this track quite impossible for that to happen? Says Shannon. No, you can definitely overtake. It's not easy. Hairpin, best spot without DRS. But only the one zone down the straight. So he can do it. There's only 1.5 between them. He's been told to push by the team, so they are happy for him to push. So it could be an interesting fight between the two of them. Piastri 1.2 behind Norris at the moment. Whether McLaren will allow that fight to happen, we'll see. But yeah, Norris can do it. It's not impossible to pass. It's just not the easiest. I was trying to think earlier on Thursday about how you might put a second DRS zone here, but there just isn't really anywhere, is there? You could put a mini one between Degner 2 and the hairpin, but is that really worth it? 1, and 2, is there enough runoff down there? I'm not sure off the top of my head. And you could have one out of Spoon down to 130R, but the last thing you want is cars carrying even more speed down to 130R. So, yeah, not really sure. Plus, drivers end up wanting to keep it open, wouldn't they? And you just know it. And there's airplane crash down there. But yeah, not really anywhere to put a second DRS zone. Best friends forever says, is it raining? Not as far as I can tell. Officially, no. Air temperature 14.5. Track temperature is 19.4. So, yeah, no rain at the moment either. Carlos Sainz. So, Sainz has just done purple first sector. So, actually, also I think Sainz passed Lawson, didn't he? We missed that. Yes, DRS down the straight. God, Williams is fast as a straight line. Not a great shock. I think Albon was quickest in the speed trap in qualifying. Sainz breezing past Lawson down to turn 1. So keep an eye on Sainz, certainly. See, Sainz did a 31.7 in the first sector. Lawson a 33.3. So Sainz is the one to watch. Definitely. He could spice this up. And lap time-wise, at the front, a tenth, half a tenth between them consistently at the moment. Hamilton wants info of where I'm slow. Response 8, 9, 13 and 14. 1/10, 8, turns 8 and 9 is where he's slower, apparently. There you go. 2.7 seconds to Antonelli. Antonelli actually quicker on the harder compounded tyre. So maybe the hard is the better race tyre. Gap's coming down a little bit. I see. No, I just I was reading it then. I thought it was a question for me, but it wasn't. I'll start that conversation. Official Blackfinger says, I'm calling it now. The top 7 finish where they are. What are the gaps? 1.2, 1.1, 7.6, 3.3, 6.9. Possibly, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Crofty desperately trying to dig a stat out here, saying we've never at a permanent racetrack had the top 6 finish in the position they started. We have had it on some street tracks, but never at a permanent track. That's desperation for a stat. That is something to talk about, isn't it? Dex says, when do the lullabies begin? I don't know. You might all have to just sort of shout booing a bit to make sure you keep everyone awake. It's spiced up after the pit stops. I thought it was. So do you know what? What we got? 16 laps left. I'll keep an eye on the times at the front. We are on Carlos Sainz watch. That's what we're doing. 5 seconds behind Hulkenberg. 9/10 quicker. 1.1 seconds quicker than him on the last lap. So Carlos Sainz is going to chase him down. Actually, once he catches Hulkenberg, he'll be on the back of Doohan pretty quickly. Then there's another gap to Gasly. Then another gap to Tsunoda. Small gap to Alonso, then a biggish gap to Bearman. So he might throw over points here, but he's going to have to really push now, Sainz. But he is pushing on a soft tyre, of course. But track limits deleted by the track limits for George Russell and time deleted on lap 33, turn 17. I missed that one on the thing. Does Tsunoda have any chance to improve his position? He's 1.2 behind Alonso. He is quicker than him as well, marginally on the last lap. So he is closing in. But I think Leclerc told engine braking +1. He said, yes, you've already told me. I don't do it for a reason. So both drivers not too thrilled over the radio with their engineers at Ferrari, which is a tale as old as time. But anyway, on Tsunoda, yes, 1.2 behind Alonso and then 4 off after that to Bearman. So he's got a shot of a point here, but he's going to have to get on with it pretty soon. Got Hulkenberg chasing down Doohan here. We're watching on the TV. Sainz has just taken another 8/10 out of Nico Hulkenberg on that lap alone. So Sainz is flying 31.1 fastest. In fact, he's 6/10 quicker than the race leader at the moment is Carlos Sainz. So the soft tyre was a good switch. Will they hang on to the end? That's the big question. It's quite cool today. So that might help things a bit. That first sector's nice as well on tyres at the moment. 1.4 the gap at the front. Nothing really changing there. So keeping an eye now on Sainz. So Verstappen being told there was an issue with the flap at the stop. Initially said incorrect adjustment, but then was told it was an issue. So maybe went the wrong way with the front wing, potentially. But things doesn't seem to be in any trouble with that. So he was 2 seconds quicker on the last lap than Norris. And Piastri is now in DRS of Norris. So that's the battle as well. So Sainz and Piastri at the moment. Lawson also picking up the pace in 17th. Sainz is flying out there. Absolutely flying. See what he does over the line. So 33.0 for Hulkenberg and a 32 flat for, so again, another second. So that's 2.8 seconds, 2.9 seconds the last 3 laps he's taken out of Hulkenberg. So it's only the battle for 15th, but it's what he can do after that we want to know. He's going to have to get on with it, though. But now we've got this problem for McLaren. Lots of marbles offline there by the look of it. Unless that was just a weird angle or I caught something wrong there. But yeah, this is going to be interesting. Piastri, 6/10 behind Norris in DRS. Norris 1.5 behind Verstappen. Are McLaren going to let them fight? You'd like to think they would. But Crofty's still pushing for them to swap them around to put some pressure on Max. I'd be surprised if McLaren do that, because this is a fight you have to remember, not just for the constructors, but for the drivers as well. Norris, Piastri are going to be in this. Verstappen might be, well, Verstappen will be somehow, I'm sure, but can't go swappy drivers around. Really. I know it's early days to be talking championship, but Russell's threat to Leclerc we had earlier in the race has kind of fallen off now. 3.2 the gap there, so it's all settled down. So the battles really are Piastri v Norris, as Norris is the fastest first sector by 500ths over Verstappen there. So just responding a little bit. And Carlos Sainz, I'm guessing, is going to take another huge chunk out of Hulkenberg over the line. Another second. It's down to 2.2. Sainz is having fun out there. Wherever he ends up, he's having fun. You can see that with those lap times. So definitely pushing hard there. Eight tenths now between Norris and Piastri, so that gap has gone up a little bit, but Piastri seems pretty good in this final sector. What's he doing out of that chicane? Not great out of there, but yeah, the final sector overall seems to be a little bit quicker. Or closes the gap at least. But yeah, half a second between now with that DRS kicking in, so yeah, this is the fight at the moment. Prisoner of Curiosity says, don't fight, less than fight will give Max the room to run away. Yeah, but I mean, Norris isn't threatening at the moment, is he? That's one thing, but also it's, you know, if we've got a fight for the driver's title and Norris and Piastri are in it, you can't be calling Piastri to stay. Well, you can and do what they want with their team, but calling Piastri to stay behind Norris because they want to close the gap on Verstappen, I mean, you may as well then just call Norris your number one, which some would argue is already the case, but gotta let them race if they've got a shot at the drivers. I get it from a team point of view, though. From a team point of view, you'd want to chase down Verstappen, but Norris 1.5 the gap. They're not really, you know, Piastri, for example, 31.6 in the first sector to Norris 31.7 and Verstappen 31.7. So he's the one making the impression at the moment. So I get what Crofty's saying, by the way. Swap him over and let Piastri go for it, but that's just going to give you a headache, isn't it? Later in fact, I tell you what, Piastri was 8 tenths a lap ago at this point. It's now down to 6. We said about 4-5 tenths, didn't we? Piastri on the radio. If Lando is still saving, I think he should go soon. I think I have the pace to get Max, says Piastri. So Lando possibly saving now, then, is what they're saying. Interesting. So maybe Lando's going to get the hurry up here to go after Verstappen. 11 laps to go. Stickle Brick says, yeah, but with Piastri up his gearbox, it's slowing Lando down, distracting him from catching Max. No. It's not distracting Norris. No, he's not. If Norris was going defensive into corners, I'd agree with you, but he's not. He's sticking to his line. He's doing his race. He's doing his pace. It's not. Seeing Piastri there is not slowing Norris down. He's not. Do you know what I mean? He's not going defensive at every corner. So I don't see that. If Norris starts darting to the inside of the chicane to fend off his teammate, and that tightens the line and it gives him a bad exit and that costs him time, then yeah, but that's not what's happening at the minute. And if Norris is losing pace because his teammate's behind him, then maybe he ought to just give up now, because that's not really great, is it? If you've got a car behind you and it slows you down. I get what you're getting at, but he's not being defensive here at all, Norris. If he does go defensive, which he may have to in a minute, because Piastri's 4 tenths behind, so now you can start to make that up. I tell you what, this is going to be interesting. Unless McLaren do, they might think to swap it, but I'd be surprised. 6 tenths of gap. Piastri's going to be close at turn 1 here. Not quite close enough, I don't think. Again, Norris not going defensive in there, so he's not too concerned by Piastri at the moment. If this is genuine pace, then Piastri is clearly the quicker of the two at the moment. Then they might need to swap him if they want to go for the win. But again, third time in the last few minutes. If you know, Norris is in the driver's title hunt, Piastri is, you'd say Verstappen is. Can you really, as a team? I mean, you can, but should you really, as a team, be telling one of your drivers to hop out of the way? I know they care about constructors more than drivers because of the money it pays. Was that a twitch by Norris, or was that just a trick of the? It might be a trick of the camera. It looks a bit twitchy on the exit there of the hairpin. The Riskless says, bro, what are you talking about? He is faster, but he has DRS. Yes, but he's also faster when he hasn't got DRS. There's no, you know, he's faster down the straight because he has DRS, but he's also faster elsewhere on the lap, although I think he's just made a mistake because he's lost a chunk of time. So that's what I'm talking about. It's not a full lap of DRS. It's only down the straight. So he's quicker, but he's also quicker in the middle sector and the final sector. Although not, I think either Norris has picked up the pace on this lap and he was saving, or one of the McLarens had a twitch coming out of one of those corners, which could have been Piastri. So there we go. I hope that answers the point I was making there. So that's the best lap. So it was just a good lap from Norris there, although still a tenth slower than Piastri, despite the best lap. Sorry, I'm looking at it wrong. Sorry, no, yeah, it was 4 tenths he lost there, Piastri, on that lap for one reason or another. So, and Norris got the gap down to 1.2, so he's coming back into it though. I just, I'm not responding to some of that. It's, yeah. .3. So Verstappen just... I was going to say Verstappen responding, but he's not really, has he? He's 2 tenths slower in the first sector, but he gained a little bit of time somewhere on that, either in the final sector of the last lap or the first sector here. So Verstappen just... Is the timing off slightly here? No? Oh, maybe a little bit, actually. Yeah, it might be a little bit... no, not quite. So match each other in the middle sector. 41.8, 41.8 and a 41.8 in that middle sector. That is close. That is close. Stroll hops out the way, rightly so. Miguel says, what's going on with Yuki? Is that car that bad? The second car's not great. The trouble is the Red Bull is a car that Verstappen can drive, and it naturally they're going to lean more towards Verstappen because he's the better driver by a mile than anybody in that second car has been. So it's very much his team. So it sort of suits his style more than it does anybody else. So anyone in that second car is going to struggle. I don't think it's a bad car, but it's not the best car. But on Tsunoda specifically, first weekend in that car, not a lot of prep time, first time driving it. I wouldn't read too much into this weekend overall. It's been a bit of a weird one because he had the really great FP1 Oh, sorry, good FP1, good FP3. Q1 also was right on Max's pace, and then it kind of fell apart from there. So, a bit of an up and down weekend for Yuki. So, I think give him well, no, he can have 2 races like Liam Lawson got. That's all he's allowed, 2 races. Any more than that, and that's it then. So, I will slate him if he struggles in Bahrain. I'll tear him apart. I won't really. 1.2 the gap at the front. Piastri's got DRS again on Lando Norris. 9/10 of a second behind. So now this is getting interesting with 7 laps to go. What pace has Verstappen got? That's the big question. A 10th between Norris and Verstappen there. Norris slightly quicker. And Piastri quicker than both of them on last lap. Antonelli's just on the fastest lap of the race on the 31.0, if you're interested. Down there in 6th place behind George Russell. 3.5 behind his teammate. 7.2 clear of Hamilton. Once again, Ferrari's pace is nowhere. The McLaren likes DRS, this Tommy guy. Yeah, Piastri loves DRS here. Norris is going to need to get DRS on Verstappen soon, I think. 1.1 the gap. I'm not really sure what to read into this at the moment in terms of Verstappen. His pace is, again, about a personal best for Verstappen, but about what? 400 slower, 4,000 slower, sorry, than Norris, and then Piastri faster than everybody in the first sector. So still some pace in that McLaren. Piastri coming back at Norris now. So I wonder, are they all just pushing now? Is this all Verstappen's got? We've got 2 seconds covering the top 3 here. Piastri closing that gap. I don't know. It's kind of weird. I'm looking at the timing screens and you sort of look at it and you see that Norris is quicker, but then you look at the time and there's nothing in it. 1:31.364 for him, 1:31.377 for Verstappen. So he is closing in. Piastri definitely the quicker of the 3. So it was purple initially in the first sector by Norris. Now Piastri's gone quicker in the first sector. Both quicker than Max Verstappen. In fact, Norris, I think, if he keeps this up, is going to get DRS by the end of the lap on Max Verstappen as we watch Antonelli. Did he touch the grass on the outside there? Cuts the chicane. That'll be another lap time deleted for track limits. I don't know if he was quite close to grass. It might have just been a bit of a lock-up, but I didn't know if he just touched it there at first glance. But no, Norris hasn't got DRS at the moment. 1.2 the gap. In fact, Piastri is much more of a threat right now. Anthony, I'm giving everything, mate. Good lad, says Bono. Is it Bono over the radio still this weekend? I assume so. Piastri is right on the back of Norris here. I think Piastri thinks he can win this. In fact, we know he does because he said it on the radio, didn't he? Only half a second between them. This is going to be close on the run to turn 1 here. Norris is going to have to go defensive, I think. Piastri's coming at him and not quite enough. He needs to be a little bit closer. And we are talking a 10th out of that final chicane. Closer. And he's got him. So Piastri chasing down Norris here is now 1.3. 1.2 behind. I'm just watching. I'm trying to watch the lap times through this first sector as we watch Carlos Sainz finally get past Nico Hulkenberg, which I say finally with disappointment. We were watching him a bit ago and he was cutting that gap down at a second a lap a time. And he's only just got past him. So up into 15th for Carlos Sainz. I'm not sure. Norris is 1.4 behind, a little wider out of spoon there than Piastri. 1.4 the gap now to the leader. So Verstappen responding or Norris dropping off. It's one of the two. I'm not, yeah. I'm waiting for this to go across the line now. So Verstappen, 131.275. Norris 131.4. Piastri 131.8. So Verstappen now the quickest of the front three. Interesting. So Norris was told to use overtake. So charging batteries there might have been why he lost that time on that lap to Verstappen. But Verstappen looks a little bit more, well, certainly a little bit more comfortable than he was a couple of laps ago. Norris wasn't that far off DRS at one point. Piastri now outside of DRS, so Norris now pushing again, it seems. If I ignore you, chat, it's not anything personal. It's just I can't bother to pick through some of the typical internet comments. So if I've missed anything important, apologies. It did take him a minute, didn't it? Sainz. I thought it was going to get him much earlier than that. So even if Oscar passes Max, still wins this. Says Ashika. Yeah, I think Norris is coming back at him now. The gap is 1.1 to Piastri, so he's kind of broken that DRS. Let's see what they do over the line. But yeah, I think 4 to go, 3 at the end of this one. Here we go. 31.3, 31.1. So Norris a couple of tenths quicker on that lap. And then 31.5 for Piastri. So Norris has picked the pace up again now with 3 to go. Yeah, I'm not going to call Verstappen having this covered just yet, but as Antonelli does another fastest lap, and he's got the gap to his teammate down to 1.9 seconds, by the way. 1.9 seconds. So keep an eye as Carlos Sainz gets past Jack Doohan. So like buses, you wait ages for one to come along, and boom, 2 at once. Through he goes within a couple of laps of each other there. The move on Jack, who was definitely weaving on the straight there to break the toe. Sights to the outside and then round the outside of turn one. Very nicely done. Stroll is a lap down, by the way. The only driver currently a lap down. In fact, I don't think anyone else will go a lap down. Antonelli 1.8 behind George Russell at the moment, who's now... Russell now 1.8 behind Leclerc as well. 4 tenths quicker on that last lap, so just a little bit late, I think. But just keep an eye on Russell again. He was pushing late on in China, wasn't he, with Norris's brakes failing or failed. Sainz top 10 possible? I don't think so now. Not with 3 laps to go. He's in fact absolutely not. He's 14.7 behind Gasly, so that's not going to happen, unfortunately. But would have been. I did think when he put the soft tyres on, he might have a shot, but maybe now 17 laps on those, pushing hard. They're falling apart a bit. But Isaac Hadjar up there in 8th place as well, by the way, on for some big points today for Racing Bulls. So good for him. So Norris and Verstappen, it's stabilised again at 1.1. Piastri 1.3 further back. So that attack has kind of fallen off there. Lando Norris's dad there. In the garage at McLaren, as you'd expect, as we come on to the penultimate lap of the race. Dex says, I thought Monaco was processional. Yeah. It's... I love watching cars around Suzuka, so I'm always going to enjoy it to a point. So there's a bias there. Couple of moments that got us excited. But I feel a little bit like I've been teased a bit. I don't know how you guys feel. Like sort of Norris almost getting into DRS of Verstappen and Piastri right on the back of Norris at one point, and just thought things were going to pick up, but it's never really... gone anywhere. What I will say, and maybe you'll all disagree, I think there's been enough to keep us interested in this second phase of the race with Norris and Piastri sort of ebbing and flowing with that gap and just about keeping Verstappen in check today. So there's that. It's I'll tell you how I'll word it. I won't be watching this back this afternoon like I did Australia. And I think I did for China as well. But yes, I won't be watching this back this afternoon. I don't think there's any need to. But yeah, one of those races. One of those races. Not the worst I've ever seen. I could guarantee that. Also, that's a great point. I should have said that as well. I meant that right at the start of the stream. Chance here. Final. In fact, I may have said it in yesterday's stream. Final race at Suzuka in Japan for Red Bull and Honda as a partnership. So what a nice way to sign off on that one as well with the special tribute livery. But more importantly, in terms of the championship, this just keeps things interesting in terms of not just a inter-team McLaren battle, but also a multi-team battle for the title here, because this brings Max Verstappen, who wasn't out of play, but right back into play because he's potentially going to win a race, although Norris is closing in quite rapidly here, whether or not this is just Verstappen seeing it to the end of the race. But into the final chicane for Max Verstappen. No problems through there. Max Verstappen, he surprised us all with pole position yesterday, maybe surprised with the win today. Max Verstappen wins the Japanese Grand Prix at Suzuka for Red Bull. Second place for Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri in third. A cracking drive from Verstappen. Good stuff from Norris and Piastri too to keep him in check there. Leclerc's going to come home in fourth place eventually. Over the line he goes. It's fifth for George Russell. It's sixth for Kimi, Antonelli. It's seventh for Hamilton, eighth for Hadjar, ninth for Albon, and 10th for Bearman, assuming they get to the line. We're currently watching now a thrilling fight between Jack Doohan and Nico Hulkenberg for the important position of P15. Hamilton does come home seventh, so that's that one done. Eighth for Hadjar, so great points out for him. Great weekend actually for Hadjar, well done to him. Ninth for Alex Albon when he eventually gets to the line. There he goes. 10th for Bearman, he's just in the final chicane. We're watching this. Oh, I mean, this is so important for so many reasons. Bearman over the line to take P10 and a point for him as well. So well done to Bearman. Is that points 2 weekends in a row for him? Alonso is 11th. Tsunoda on debut for Red Bull 12th. Gasly 13th. Sainz is going to take 14th place. He's coming through the final chicane. But who's going to finish in 15th position? It's what we've all been waiting for. It's the moment. Who's going to do it? It's going to be Jack Doohan. And oh, yay, Jack Doohan's 15th and Hulkenberg 16th and Lawson's 17th and Ocon's 18th and Bortoleto is 19th. Well, that's that done then. Max Verstappen, winner of the Japanese Grand Prix. Wasn't a thriller, was it? But a couple of intriguing moments. A little bit of almost controversy at the pit exit, but it wasn't even really controversy, was it? It was just a nothing incident that prompted a bit of moaning on team radio. That was basically all it was. Otherwise, it was all about watching the times and seeing if someone could do anything. Piastri kept it interesting as well, by the way, for much of that second stint, staying close to Norris. Norris got close to Verstappen at one point, almost within DRS, but never quite got there. And then it was all about Carlos Sainz flying through the field, which he never really did either, did he? Looked like he was going to. A second quicker than Hulkenberg per lap. Took him ages to catch him in the end, didn't get past him, and then got to and end up 14th. There was a point where I thought Sainz might end up in the points, but not today. Not to be. What are you rating out of 10 then, chat? 10 being, wow, I've never seen anything that good in my life, and 1 being, I may as well have stayed in bed. What's your score out of 10? I'm going to predict that I don't see much more than a 4 in chat for that one. Please do leave a like, by the way. We're only at 11 away from 200. That'd be amazing. 1,800 of you here. Thank you so much for tuning in, by the way, today. We'll stay live for a little bit longer, for a little bit of a chat post-race, watch the podium and that together, and then I'll sign off for the day. But yeah, thank you for your company this afternoon. So please do leave a like and subscribe as well if you are new. Lots to come this season. Yuki Tsunoda has won Driver of the Day, because that's the most pointless vote in F1 history. It was, for some reason, it was Antonelli in China, and for some reason, other than the fact that the home fans have all voted for him, it's Yuki Tsunoda in Japan, having gone from 14th to 12th. Oh, and Norris had a big lockup, you know, at the end, at the chicane, which I must have missed as I was being sarcastic as they came over the line. And that'll be why the gap sort of jumped up suddenly to Verstappen. So big lockup on the right front, big squeal of the tyres over the chicane. And Piastri said cheeky on the radio. So obviously felt that was a cheeky move. But no, nothing doing there. Yeah. Tsunoda driver of the day. We'll do our driver of the day in a bit. It'll probably be more accurate. Let's see what your scores are. Yeah, I didn't think we'd get much more than a 4. A couple of 5s in there, interesting. 7 for Exempt Andromeda. Scott's gone with 6. And Dabashish, I'm terrible with pronunciation, apologies, 3. Michael's gone with 5. Corn's gone with 1. The Hatprus says 3. Kieran says 2. Dell says 3. Tommy says 5. Commander Claw says 1. Took me ages to try and read that, sorry. Lala B says 5. Paradox gone with 2. Sumed goes with 5. Alina goes with 4. Fud says 4.1, just since it's more than a 4. There you go. Gold star for the amazing commentary, Sean. Makes entertaining. Thank you very much, Hermes. Says 6 out of 10. Tim says some. There you go. Strat61 says 3. Sema says worse than China, question mark. Leave it with me. Let me think. Junk says 3. John says 4. Killjoy says 4. 5 is me being kind, says Tommy. Junk says worse than China. Kevin says 1. Yeet says 1. Dex says 2. Esdy says 4. 4 for 0. 1 out of sleep out of 10 for Corn in the end. Niraj says 4. Frank's gone with 4. Lizzie says 2. Yeah. First 10 positions basically stay the same. I mean, we're not... Yeah, Hamilton passing Hadjar, which we all expected to happen, is all that happened in the top 10 in terms of position changes. But don't forget, there are some headlines from... It may not have been the best race, but there are some headlines from it. Antonelli led the race for a few laps, didn't he? So that's something for him there. We had the pit exit between Verstappen and Norris, which was kind of like I keep saying, a nothing incident, but we got a bit of moaning on team radio and got to speculate for a little while about what the stewards might do. Turns out they did nothing because there was nothing really doing there. Piastri keeping the gap to Norris inside DRS for a little while and keeping that pressure on. That was interesting to keep an eye on. Norris kept coming back at Verstappen as well, so that was interesting to keep an eye on. Russell coming back at Leclerc, that was something to keep an eye on late on, and actually Russell and Leclerc were pretty close early doors as well. Other than that, in the top 10, not really an awful lot doing, as it turns out. But behind that, when you look sort of 11th to, well, 19th, lots of things going on in terms of position changes, but only really 1 or 2, apart from Doohan, who made 4 places in that race up to 15th, and obviously took that 15th place over the line, which was very exciting to see. So, yeah, Lawson down in 17th. It's not really a reason to go back and watch it this afternoon, but there were some interesting things happening in the top 10, but not really in terms of overtaking. But it was close at the front, and it's, I mean, look, when you look at that on paper, 2.1 seconds separating the top 3, we no matter how dull a race might be, we'd all much rather have that than 22 seconds. But then some might argue, if nothing's happening at the front, there's no difference between 2.1 and 22, I suppose. But there's always that risk that a lock-up like we saw from Norris on the final lap, or if Verstappen had done that with the gaps being so small, it completely changes things. So it does keep the pressure on at the front. So that's something to maybe take away as a positive, in my view, at least. It keeps it interesting, keeps you engaged. One mistake could cost them dearly, and that's why we need the gaps to be small. So that's the positive I'm taking. But as a Ferrari fan, Leclerc 16 seconds off the lead and 14 seconds off the McLarens, not great. I'm really trying to sell this to you now as a humdinger, but trying to find the positives as always in these, and that's what I would say. That's what I would say. I think we should bring Checo back to his amazing lane. I prefer a big gap at the front so I could go to bed instead of watching a bad race, says Cadenza. That's a fair point, actually. Yeah, at least you could just give up and say, I won't bother then. But then knowing your luck, maybe you come back and it would have all kicked off despite the big lead if you'd gone to bed. So that's the problem. I used to do that when I was sort of before I did the streams for races. I'd watch a race and think, oh, huge gap, what's the point? But I couldn't stop watching because I knew that if I went to bed and I woke up later and something had gone on and I missed it, I'd be furious. So I'll always watch it to the end, which is a good job from streaming, because if I'd have just disappeared after 20 laps, then that wouldn't have been a great look, would it? But no, I think there was some good stuff. There was some good stuff in there, but not something that really got me too excited. So Yeah, Norris talked about the pit exit incident. Even he doesn't sound too convinced as much in that at all, so that's fine. It's bumpier on board that exit, isn't it, as they go across the grass? But what's that done for the championship? I don't actually know. That's a fair question. Do we care at this point of the season? I'm not sure I do, but I'll have a look anyway. So that puts... Ooh, that's nice. Norris, 62 points. Verstappen, 61 points. Piastri, 49. Russell on 45. So, actually, a really close. That win does... Yeah. McLaren, 111 points. Mercedes, 75. Red Bull, 61. All the points for Red Bull coming from Verstappen at the moment. Ferrari, 35 points. Williams, 19. They beat their 2024 total. Haas have 15 as well in 6th place. Aston Martin have 10. Racing Bulls have 7. Sauber have 6. And Alpine yet to score. It's only 3 races. But fellow long-suffering Ferrari fans, I don't think this year's going to be our year, you know. Next year it is, again. Long way to go. You never know. You never know. Max Verstappen talking to James Hinchcliffe, is that? Doing the interviews at the podium? The rain never came either, did it? It may be too early to call, but Verstappen will win the World Drivers' Championship this year, says Hans. Korn calling Ferrari clowns. Yeah. Sorry. Otherwise, it's just I see that everywhere, but it's an emoji that annoys me because people use it all the time, but then actually for Ferrari it feels like it just fits. Madness. Ferrari at Arsenal, always close but never succeeding. Yeah. Why does Stroll's tyre marker have ears, Sean? Used set. So if it's got a line through it like that, it's a used set of tyres. Obviously for Aston Martin, Stroll pitted twice in the end, by the way, the only one to do so. That's something, I guess. But yeah, for Aston Martin in particular, they tend to scrub their tyres in and do a lap on them. So sometimes when you see an Aston Martin car go out of the pits in quali or whatever with a used set of tyres on, actually they've only done one heat cycle. So it's not like they've been run in. So it's usually only got 1 or 2 laps on them. So yeah. The Tifosi is crying in their beer, says Frank. I wish I had a beer, Frankie. But I feel like the argument it's 5 o'clock somewhere is really pushing the limits at 20 to 8 in the UK for a beer, but it is tempting. I will admit that it is tempting. Now I think the match will probably win the driver's title, says Prisoner of Curiosity. It's way too early. Pancos says Dex says according to Sean's graphic, the cars were all over the track. Yes, they've all parked where they were. They couldn't be bothered to go out the pits, even they got bored. That's it freezes like that for some reason after a while, but there we go. That's how it finished. They all stopped there and they just gave up for the day. Interestingly, if you saw that, actually, you'd think that Verstappen dominated because he's coming round on this track map to lap the 2 McLarens. The way they've been laid out there. So anyway, it doesn't matter. I can foresee this being a 2007 season. McLaren somehow messing it up at times with an easy title. I can see this being a bit 2003-y. We came into the season maybe expecting, or go back a year, we all thought that Max Verstappen was going to dominate the next 2 years, and that's kind of how things were with Ferrari and Michael Schumacher. After sort of 2001-2, we thought, they'll just dominate the next few years or whatever. And then we had a really competitive 2003, but just in the end, Michael Schumacher had too much for everybody else. That might well be where we go this year with Max Verstappen, that we have a really tight fight and it ebbs and flows a bit and we get some drama along the way, but he just has a bit too much to edge it at the end. But he's just got to stay consistent is what he needs to do in his early phase. And if Red Bull get on top of the car, I mean, he's winning that car as it is. I'm not, yeah. If they get on top of it, then what chance has anyone got? Is what I say. Scott says, good night, good morning, thank you. No worries, Scott. Thank you so much for your company, mate. Have a good one. Go get some kip if you're off to bed, or have a good day if you're not. Max is just superb, says Sad Mariners fan. What went wrong with Yuki, says Laura. I think, as I was saying earlier, the thing with Tsunoda is it's his first weekend in that car. He's not driven it before. It's quite short notice as well in the grand scheme of things. And I think when you look at his weekend as a whole, it was quite up and down. There were some good sessions for him, some bad sessions for him, disappointed in qualifying. I don't think 12th is awful, but he needs to be higher than that given his experience now, because we can talk about no experience in that car, but in Formula One, he's got a lot more than Liam Lawson. So I think he's going to get less grace, I guess is the phrase I'm looking for, than perhaps Lawson would get. So he needs to find his speed in that quickly, but I don't think that's a bad start. It's when Max Verstappen wins the race and Tsunoda finishes 12th, it looks dreadful, doesn't it? But I don't think that's terrible, especially when you think Lawson was nowhere near 12th place in his first 2 race weekends. So I think that's okay for Yuki, but he'll want more. Red Bull will want more, but all the noise is coming from Red Bull this weekend so far is that he's doing what they need him to do early doors, and they're quite happy with where he's at behind the scenes, and the data is showing that he's more at ease in that car and he has more pace in that car than Lawson did. So they feel right now justified in their swap. Skeptics would say, of course, they're going to say that, but that's the way they are, and that's what the information that they're putting out there. So for a first weekend, not bad for Yuki, but hopefully he'll find some more pace soon, and Red Bull can get that second car up there, because as we've seen today, how close it is at the front. Imagine adding a 4th car in there, a second Red Bull alongside that. Verstappen was exposed at times today. McLaren were considering strategy with Piastri trying to get an undercut. Norris trying to get an undercut was an option as well, calling bluffs over the radio. You throw Tsunoda in that mix as well, and that removes that option for McLaren. So we said this a lot with Perez, didn't we? He needs to be up there to put that pressure on there, and I think Yuki looks better in that car than Lawson did, but it's also very difficult to judge Lawson on 2 weekends. So we have to go with what Red Bull are saying. It's what they chose to do. They're happy with him. Good start, but hopefully we'll see more in Bahrain and Saudi. But I don't think inherently there's anything wrong with his race today, just getting to grips with the car. Coming through the field's always tough in Suzuka anyway. It's not like we saw a ton of overtaking elsewhere, was it? So that's my answer for the Yuki stuff. Not great, not bad. Frank says Yuki's assessment was to be in the points. I would imagine, yes, Tsunoda's assessment was probably to win, wasn't it? He's a racing driver, he'll want to win. If that was his goal, then he's failed at that goal, but I don't think it's horrifically bad. That's just my view on that one, but we'll need to see more from him. Of course we do. Collar Pinto to RB for Miami, says Boggy. Who knows? I mean, 3 races before Miami. That's more than Lawson got, wasn't it? So the Japanese Grand Prix trophy. Changed that in recent years, haven't they? That used to be quite an iconic trophy, but they've tweaked it a bit. Not quite as nice. And now we get the medal for some reason. I still don't understand the point of the medal, but he's going to get it anyway, so there we go. Puts the fancy hat on. Constructors Trophy as well for Red Bull, of course. Hugh Bird's Sergio Perez's ex-race engineer there. Hugh Bird. Prisoner of Curiosity, Hadjar is easily the Racing Bull's #1 driver. Great drive today from Hadjar, all things considered. Was never really going to keep Hamilton behind, was he? But only 80 seconds off in the end. Good pace, solidly clear of Albon. Dare I say, pretty comfortable, actually, for 8th place in the end. So good drive from Hadjar. Good weekend, actually, from Hadjar as well. So that's where I'm at with that one. Antonelli will win a race before Russell does, says Hans. Controversial. Might talk about Russell again in a minute, actually. We'll see. So Max Verstappen has won the Japanese Grand Prix, 1.4 seconds clear of Lando Norris and 2.1 further back was Oscar Piastri. That is Max Verstappen's 4th pole and 4th win in a row at Suzuka. Very much Verstappen's track. So next year, get your predictions in. Verstappen will win Suzuka. There we go. Charles Leclerc in 4th place, 16 seconds further back with Russell in 5th and Antonelli in 6th. Lewis Hamilton 7th place for Ferrari, 10 seconds off Antonelli, 8 seconds clear of Hadjar. If we do a bit of rounding there, Hadjar in 8th place, great drive from him. Alex Albon in 9th and Ollie Bearman in 10th. A good point there for Ollie Bearman once again. He was pretty comfortable as well, really. 14.1 behind Albon and 2.8 clear of Alonso. So not really under any major threat there. So good drive from Ollie Bearman again. Fernando Alonso in 11th with Yuki Tsunoda 12th on his Red Bull debut. 13th for Pierre, 14th for Carlos Sainz. It was 15th for Jack Doohan, 16th for Nico Hulkenberg, 17th for Liam Lawson, 18th for Esteban Ocon, 19th for Bortoleto, and 20th place Lance Stroll, the only driver lapped, but also the only driver to pit twice. So the one-stopper not working with that early start from the softs to the hards for Lance Stroll. There you go. Any questions before we wrap things up? I was just going to say, actually, am I going to say it? Shall I say it? It's obviously very early days. But George Russell has quietly impressed me this season so far. 3rd place in Australia. Kind of flew a bit under the radar there. 3rd place in China. Flew a bit under the radar there. And 5th place today. All right, 5th place is not a podium and it's not as exciting as a 3rd place. But that's still a really nice chunk of points. Another 10 points to go to his total. And it actually, it just keeps him sort of in play. And the reason I wanted to mention it is because I don't feel like we're hearing a lot about George Russell, yet he's picked up 45 points from the opening 4 races, and he's sort of keeping himself in the mix and picking up those points consistently. I said it earlier about, Verstappen in these early races, getting those points on the board nice and early on. When the car comes good, if the car comes good, that brings him into play a bit more later on, so just get the points in the bag early. That's what Russell's doing. So I'm not going to sit here and say after 3 races that anybody's going to win the World Championship, and I'm certainly not suggesting that George Russell will win the World Championship. However, he might be a bit of a dark horse this year, just to keep an eye on. If he can consistently keep picking up those points, and maybe again, like Verstappen, as the car comes good, if it does do that, and Mercedes keep focusing on this year, and he starts to pick up some wins like he did in the mid-season last year, obviously pre-disqualification in Belgium, but he actually gets to keep that, let's say, gets 2 or 3 wins at some point this season, he might bring himself into play. I don't think he will, but I just think he deserves a little bit of credit for what's been a really strong start to the season. Actually, both Mercedes drivers, for Antonelli is only 15 points behind his teammate, so that's not bad at all either. So I think Russell deserves a lot of credit. And yes, do not adjust your whatever device you're listening to this on. Sean is giving George Russell praise. Normal service will be resumed next week, I promise. That was it, really. But I'm not pretending he's going to win the World Championship, but I think that he deserves a lot of credit for his start to the season. And we look at winners all the time, don't we? And who's doing what. But I think sometimes you've got to applaud consistency, and that's what George Russell's delivering. But Antonelli is definitely another driver to be very, very impressed with of late. And he led some laps today as well. So there you go. Russell is keeping himself in it, and consistent upgrades and some shenanigans could help him. Shenanigans is a great word, first of all, 2-wheel drive, but also you've got a point, a bit of drama could bring him into play, especially if things get intense like they did last year. In a tighter title fight, that will kind of rhyme, sort of, but not quite. In a tighter title fight, things between Verstappen and Norris could get very, very tasty. So that could allow, like we saw in Austria, of course, last year, Russell to swoop in and take some extra points and win. So Antonelli, fastest lap of the race. I'm a little bit blown away, a little bit confused by this driver of the day stuff that's going on. Or not confused, because it's obvious that it's a popularity contest, and Tsunoda's won it today because the Japanese fans are going to get behind him at his home Grand Prix in his first race for Red Bull. So I get why he's won it. in that regard. But actually, the funny thing is, you look at Antonelli in China, he won driver of the day and nobody really knows why. I would say today's drive was better from Antonelli, not just because he led for a bit, but today was more worthy for driver of the day than China was, even though he wasn't driver of the day today, and Tsunoda's won it. So a bit of a weird one. I don't know what's going on with it, unless it has just become an out-and-out popularity contest now rather than anybody actually getting, praise for performing well from the fans. I don't know, but very, very strange. Very, very strange. Jay Webb says, winners, people who slept in and missed the race. Fair enough. Russell feels the 2018 Ricciardo at the start. Feels like 2018 Ricciardo at the start. He was close enough to be considered a contender, but will more than likely fall away. I'm going to read that again. Sab Mariners fan says, Russell feels like 2018 Ricciardo at the start. He was close enough to be considered a contender, but will more than likely fall away. I would be surprised if Russell is in title contention, but again, bit of shenanigans. That was the word that two-wheel drive used, wasn't it? A few shenanigans, bit of drama, keep picking up the points consistently. If the car comes good, he might be a bit of a dark horse, but I suppose a better way to word it, if I was to go and put a bet on anybody, sticking a fiver on George Russell might be worth it. On him to not just going up to him and sticking a fiver on his head, but you know what I mean. A £5 down the bookies on him or something wouldn't be about. You'd probably lose the £5, but I think it's worth it. You never know. You never know. But I think realistically, it is going to be Verstappen, Norris, Piastri in this fight rather than Russell. But stranger things have happened in F1, and we've seen in the past drivers win titles in F1. In junior categories as well, just from consistency and picking up one or two wins. So it can happen. It can. But I do think Verstappen, Norris, Piastri is your battle there. Who's your driver of the day then, chat? Let me know. I'm going to go with Verstappen. Reasons why. Surprise pole position yesterday, which shouldn't count for today, but having that pole position gave him the chance to control the pace, look after his tyres. Tricky track to pass on, really. He always had the advantage, so getting that advantage was important, so that translated into the win today. Some good pace management. There were a couple of threats at times, Norris coming back at him, but I never really, apart from a few laps from the end when Norris got the gap down to under 1.1 seconds, and I thought maybe by the end of the lap he might get DRS. I never really felt like Verstappen was under any major threat. The threat was always there, but I don't feel like without a mistake Norris was going to be able to get that done. So Verstappen for me, a podium of driver of the days. Verstappen first. Hadjar, I think, deserves second. A great weekend as well for him. And maybe Piastri or Antonelli third, something like that. Obviously, that battle for 15th between Doohan and Hulkenberg late on was so thrilling that you've got to give them a shout as well. But yeah, that'll be, I think, Bearman as well. Give him a nod. But yeah, Verstappen's my out-and-out driver of the day today. Who have you gone for? Michael says Hadjar. Lizzie's gone with Hadjar. Prisoner of Curiosity's gone with Hadjar. William's gone with Hadjar. The Rooster has gone with Stroll. Dex says Leclerc did good with that tractor. Yeah, no, good drive from Leclerc to get fourth. Long way off Piastri in the end, but comfortably clear of Russell in the sense that maybe backed off towards the end a bit sharp, not really pushing. Gap did start to come down, but he seemed to have that covered, didn't he, for much of it. Was quite close early doors, I suppose. Driver of the day, Max did the best drive today, says Lala B. I will say my usual line about this, driver of the day, you know what I mean by driver of the day. I sometimes get some people saying, well, how can you say not anyone but the race winner? Officially, the driver of the day is Max Verstappen because he beat everybody else, but we all know what driver of the day really means. Kira's gone with Verstappen easily. Pascal says Hadjar. Hermes and Sophia have gone with Kimi Antonelli. Free says Verstappen. Shout outs for Hadjar and Antonelli. Bearman did a good job, says Steph. Absolutely did. Driver of the day Verstappen for World 999. Hadjar for Killjoy. Jonathan's gone with Antonelli. Duds of the day Ferrari, say Freeze. Oh, stop it, Freeze. I can't handle it. It's driving me mad. I don't think Max was ever really pushing it 100%, just keeping a gap at 1.5 the whole race, says Sab Mariners fan. Dex says Bearman for driver of the day. Hadjar might be the rookie of the year at this rate, says Lala B, replacing Doohan if he only gets 5 races. Doohan to Alpine. Ooh, Lala B, you've piqued my interest. I think if they do drop Doohan, it'll be Colapinto. But I like the little curveball you've thrown in there. I like that. Nice. Farting Golf Ball says Perez. He's had a quiet race and finished where he started. There you go. Cadenza says Max, and I'm a Lewis Hamilton fan. McLaren stopped Piastri from the win. Says Sophia. I don't think we call that on the radio. If I have missed that, then apologies. All natural beef hot dog. Says Verstappen, Antonelli, and Piastri. Pete says driver of the day is Max. Jeffrey wants to know who the winner is. It's Max Verstappen, Jeffrey. Norris second. Piastri third. Just to confirm, it's not always clear because the clock's still ticking. That is the final result on screen there for you now. So Verstappen, Norris, and Piastri, your top three. Kieran says, how about Van Dorn? Of course, obviously, the best driver who's ever lived. And for the fifth and final time, how many race winners do you think we'll see this year? I'm going with 6, says Hermes. How many race winners this year? 6 you've got. Let's have it. Verstappen's won. Norris has won. Piastri's won. I'd be surprised if a Ferrari doesn't win at some point. So that's 4. So let's say Leclerc, because he's the highest on the timing tower at the moment. I think Russell will win a race. That's 5. I think at a track like Silverstone, where he's gone so well in the past, if Ferrari get it right, Hamilton's got to be in the mix, so that's 6. And I think we've seen today, yes, he only led briefly during the pit stops, and I get that, but Antonelli drove well. His pace was good at the front as well when he was there. Not as good as the absolute outright leaders, of course, but he was still good pace. He seems to be finding his feet really quickly as well and getting up to speed nicely. So I think he might need some luck, but if that Mercedes is where it is now, I throw Antonelli in there too for 7. So I think 7, not guaranteed, but I'm quite fairly confident on 7. And I think the only way that becomes 8 is if you get an absolutely bonkers race and we get Ocon winning in Hungary in 2021, something completely out of nowhere, or if Tsunoda does get us speed in that Red Bull. But yeah, I think 6 is a good number actually, to be honest, Hermes. I think you've probably right there, but I'll throw a 7 in there just to make it interesting. Yeah. Antonelli will get Rookie of the Year, but Hadjar is a strong contender. Bortoleto winning F2 and Hadjar being his strong contender. Hadjar is easily my favourite rookie, consistent and hungry, says Prisoner of Curiosity. Yeah, like I said, that crash in Australia, since then, Hadjar's really come of age, hasn't he? Obviously, very early days. He might go on and not finish the next 2 races, and I'll look a fool. But based on today, I think he's done a great job. A really, really great job again. Ferrari doing Ferrari things though, Sean. And for as long as I have watched you, I'm feeling your pain. 6 winners, by the way, or 7 for Jonathan. Yeah, you get used to it, Jonathan, don't you? After a while with Ferrari, but it's quite fun. I'm not going to go at anybody here, but it's quite funny watching Hamilton fans for years laughing at Ferrari. Finally starting to feel the pain that the Tifosi have gone through for so long. It's kind of like we've come together as fan bases and gone, I feel it. It's fine. We'll help each other through it, I'm sure. Why does Norris have a pink number and why are some green? Can you explain your graphics? So the pink, I assume you mean the pink or the purple around the 31.235. So that's the fastest first sector. So purple outline like that will be that's the fastest first sector, and green's a personal best. So on that last lap, Piastri did a personal best of a 1:31.039 and a personal best first sector. Russell did a personal best first sector, and Hamilton did a personal best first sector as well, as did Hulkenberg and Stroll on that final lap. Stroll actually did a personal best lap overall, actually, and then the fastest one of the race absolutely was Norris, 31.235. So there we go. Hopefully that helps a little bit. Hopefully. Cadenza says next year. Yeah, maybe. Alexander says, worst possible race to introduce the wife to F1 this season. Quote, why do boys like this? Well, my sister, when I was a kid, used to always say, it's so boring. It's just cars going around in circles. And you're like, oh, you just don't get it. You don't understand. When you break it down, that is exactly what it is, and she's right. So I can see why some people might not find it interesting, but I do love me Formula One. I do. Yeah, but my advice to you, Alexander, and your wife is stick with it. or pop Australia on next, or Brazil last year, and just say, look, this is why we watch, because this can happen. A bit of chaos, or put on a great battling race or something from the past. Go and find one that maybe sells the sport a bit better. Again, I don't think this was the worst race I've ever seen. I ain't going to watch it this afternoon again on Channel 4. And I think there was enough to keep us interested, but it wasn't something that was going to... It never really took off, did it? We just teased all race with something happening. It never really did, but there we go. Max Verstappen is a race winner again now. Race win number, God knows how many in the last 3 years. Incredible. Let's read a couple more comments then we'll sign off for today. Just finished watching it live. I think Lando was nearly put out of the race completely along with Max. Some close calls for the two of them if both of them crashed into each other, says Joy. Yeah. Piastri, Leclerc, Russell would be a podium if they'd have collided, wouldn't it? So, sorry, I was just trying to work. I don't know why it took me ages to work out how people would finish if I deleted the top two from the timing, given it would be the next three drivers. But there you go. This was not a classic. That's the way to put it, Frank. That's the way to put it. Germany 2017 is a good shout, Jonathan. I've already genuinely had the next year thought multiple times this year, says Cadenza. To be fair, Doohan wasn't bad today either, says Pascal. No, I don't think Doohan was bad, but I think the problem with Jack Doohan is it doesn't really matter what he does. I think he's gone. Hermes says commentary 8 out of 10, race 4 out of 10. Sean's now going to spend the next week working out how he can get a 9 out of Hermes for next week and then a 10 for Saudi. That's my plan. That's my plan now. That's all I'm going to focus on for the next week. There you go. I think we're going to leave it there. You've done your driver of the day. We've rated the race. I closed the poll nice and early, so we are done. So we'll leave it there today. Please do drop a like on the stream before you go, though. 700 still here, 250 likes. So let's see if we can get a few more on. We didn't quite hit 300 yesterday while we were live, but we did afterwards. So thank you for your support as always. And please do subscribe to the channel as well. There'll be a video out tomorrow with Elizabeth, post-race Monday video. Then the preview on Thursday, the qualifying watch on Saturday, and a race watch on for the Bahrain Grand Prix on Sunday afternoon. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean. This has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.